Welcome everyone to day 3 of the Overwatch World Cup online qualifiers APAC Group B. I'm your host Domino and I'm joined again by the legendary Pixie and Avril. How are we feeling today, guys?
Fresh.
Good.
Yeah, very good, thank you. Looking forward to some games on day 3. Australia and New Zealand back on board today to play. I mean, everyone is, all 6 teams will be playing, so that'll be really interesting. And again, a very interesting matchup to start out with New Zealand versus India. That'll be one I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, well, let's take a look at the tournament format that we are running here at the Overwatch World Cup. As you can see, we are there in the online qualifiers for Group B for APAC, and it is a round-robin format, so every team will verse off each other. They're quick games, as it is the first to 2 wins, and the top 2 teams will make it all. Will go through to the LAN stages. So a lot of the line here, and yeah, a lot worth fighting for. Let's. Oh, you sorry?
Yeah, and as mentioned, you know, we're starting to get a really good feel for the group now in terms of how things are shaping now. You know, I kind of predicted a top 4 before we came into this event. That's starting to become evident as, you know, Malaysia and Singapore are still at the bottom of the standings. Let's see if they can, you know, sort of climb back up today. Some more difficult games ahead. New Zealand got their first win as well. And currently it's India and Australia leading the leaderboards. They've only played 1 game each though, but we'll see if that changes today.
Yeah, let's take a look at yesterday's games. We had Thailand versus Australia. Australia won that 2-1. Then we had Malaysia versus India, with India winning 2-0. And then versus New Zealand, with New Zealand sweeping that 2-0.
And I mean, it was fairly expected results across the board. The most contentious one of the lot is the one you're seeing here, Thailand versus Australia. That was the one that we kind of looked at to be, you know, is Australia truly going to be top dog? You know, we're expecting that they're in that top 4, almost a shoo-in for one of those 2 qualifying spots. But, you know, when they hit the concrete, does that hold true? And certainly in that series it did. Thailand, though, still had a good showing, and now the question over them is, are they best of the rest? Are they going to be the other team that can take that top 2 slot? Obviously, it's not set in stone yet. Australia might still not make it out of this group. They might not actually take one of those qualifying slots, but certainly this was the start that they needed, and a reasonable follow-up for Thailand in spite of the loss.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing, well, obviously Australia does play it again today. I think they have a very winnable match coming up ahead. India is definitely, as far as yesterday's games goes, was the most impressive team that I saw. So this is a team now that looks really scary in comparison to the rest of the field. And you're talking about the fact that, you know, does Australia have a freebie to get out of this group? I think the group is really heating up in terms of how close the competition might be. So no real guarantees for anyone at the moment. Australia probably walks away 2-0 today in terms of their overall scoreline on the standings. And, well, India has to go up against New Zealand, which means, you know, it's going to be more of a competitive match where no guarantees there for anybody.
Let's take a look at the leaderboards currently. As you can see, we have India and Australia both sitting at the top with 1 win each and no losses so far. Thailand and New Zealand and Malaysia all with 1 win and 1 loss, and Singapore sitting at the bottom there with 2 losses so far. But we do have a lot still to go, so who knows where we're going to end up. And let's take a look at our schedule for today and see what we've got ready coming up. So as mentioned, we've got New Zealand versus India first, which is going to be a great matchup, I think, to watch. New Zealand's definitely going to be wanting to take a win today. Australia versus Singapore, as you have mentioned, Avril, potentially an easy matchup for Australia. And then we have finishing us off with Malaysia versus Thailand. This
is quite an interesting day overall. Obviously, that first match is kind of the main fight on the card, right? That's 2 of the teams that were saying sort of in that top 4. New Zealand began their recovery yesterday after dropping on day 1 to Thailand. Thailand, who have in turn lost to Australia. So this is a very a sort of big must-win for New Zealand. If they lose this one, then you'd say, well, they're in the top 4, but they're number 4, which isn't good enough, right? India, on the other hand, they had a solid start yesterday. A reasonably expected win, but nice to see them kind of stay the course. So this is where they're looking for a really solid follow-up. And they would actually be, assuming Australia can win their match day as well, which you'd imagine they can, India would actually still be holding parity with Australia in terms of their overall win record. So that's a really important kind of beat there. The other one I kind of want to highlight is right towards the end there, Malaysia versus Thailand. That's an upset potential. It's an outside chance, but all these good things I've just been saying about Thailand, their solid performance against Australia, if they get upset here, a lot of that hard work gets undone. So again, it's a real stay the course kind of day for a lot of these teams.
So all the top 4 teams, right, they really can't afford to lose to anybody else. And if you're New Zealand, as you mentioned, you've already lost to Thailand. Losing to India would probably, at least in terms of trying to get out of the group, put a nail in the coffin. Let's go ahead and take a look at Team New Zealand. This is a team that currently sitting at a 1-1 scoreline, perfect 2-2 in terms of map differential as well. So they're 1-2-0, they lose 2-0. No map differential at all. So that ends up changing today. It does sort of speak towards, you know, they've been able to beat the teams they're supposed to beat, and unfortunately they've also lost a little bit handily to the teams that they lost to as well.
And I mean, it's interesting, right? That that map differential. This is actually quite possibly a tournament where that could matter quite a lot. Right now on the standings, India is only above Australia because with their 1 win, they're a 2-0, whereas Australia had a 2-1. So their map differential is only 1. That actually will start to seriously add up, especially if we get any kind of triangular win losses, right? You know, if we get something where, I don't know, Thailand beats New Zealand, New Zealand beats India, India beats Thailand. Map differential is going to start matter because those are the teams that are fighting for one of those top 2 spots. So picking up 2-0s ends up increasingly important here. So the other thing we kind of want to see in this matchup for either team, whoever wins it, they really want it to be a 2-0, just in case you end up in a triangle.
Let's take a look at Team India now that New Zealand will be having to verse off. And as mentioned, they had a very good performance yesterday. They showed that they are a team, you know, that is up for the challenge here and could potentially make our top 4 at the end of the day. So a very strong lineup here to go in against New Zealand. And both teams, I can imagine, are really going to want this win today. So they're near the top of that leaderboard as well. Any other thoughts on Team India?
Do you think Captain Pressure
very
is
strong? I think
captain?
this is a team that, you know, we've highlighted at the beginning, but now is now starting to prove their worth. A team that's very well put together. Everyone's got contenders experience, and a team that's, I think, taking, not that other teams are not, but this team in particular is taking the World Cup very seriously, boot camping together in Vancouver currently as well. So a team that's putting it all out there.
They're definitely putting a lot into it. And let's take a look at the first map of today. It will be a control map as always, and we'll be going to beautiful Ilios to start us off here today. We have seen this map played a little bit already as the starting map, so no surprises here. A good one to start on, control as always.
And of course, it's loser picks subsequently and first to 2. We've sort of gone over the format already, but we've actually seen that really matter quite a lot because it's so tight with that first to 2 situation. Having that map pick on the second one, if you've lost, is actually a big way you can start to turn things back around. We've a couple of times seen that picking team, you know, in these closer matchups, win that second map, take us to a draw situation. We saw Thailand do it against Australia. I'm trying to rack my brain. It was, I believe, Singapore, Malaysia first day. We also saw it. And when we talk about map differential, that really starts to add up.
All right, well, let's get into it now. We head over to Ilios as the players are ready, and I'll leave you over with the fantastic Pixie and Avril to guide you guys through.
It's going to be another Color Hex Echo map, I'm afraid. So, see how Team India fares against that. Color Hex, who had a pretty good Echo performance on day 1 versus Thailand. We'll remember fondly the Numbani map that he played. So it comes as a no surprise. Team India looking over towards pretty standard Lucio Mora through the Ram as well. New Zealand playing the dive, India playing the rush. Ilios probably a little bit more dive favored.
5, 4.
Do you think Abs has abs?
Round 1. Capture.
Do you think Par is
the
going to go?
automatic braking system. Yeah.
Yeah, it's every time you tap your brake pedal, your brakes break immediately.
Exactly.
Pretty standard setup here. Color Hex looking to utilize the height advantage as India kind of cowering in the smaller room, confined space. Captain Crash gets picked up around the side and really nice wrap around, finding Abs. Akash taking a lot of heat as well. Color Hex able to pick him up with the bombs. Very nice open from New Zealand, super clean. Unnecessary death on Color Hex towards the end, but they do at least find Iron Man, and Color Hex can get back to this team quite fast.
A decent punish from Iron Man, but now going to start seeing some changes come through. Would be surprised to see the Tracer on top of the fact that Akash has already gone towards the Winston. I just need to probably get rid of the Moira as well. You start to look towards a proper dive composition for India as well. They got wrapped around very quickly, as mentioned. Color Hex had the high ground, played the off angle to perfection. Hacked out, but it's okay.
Taking their time for now. JCap pretty comfortably holding down the fort. Iron Man is kind of feathering on it, making sure that New Zealand had to keep boots on the point lest they get it stolen out from under them. So kind of forcing the issue. Pummy a little bit low, has to back out around the side, find a health pack, and the continued harassment here between Iron Man and Pummy. They're not quite making the headway they want. Hack onto JCap. No one really there to follow it up, but Color Hex goes down. Pummy finally finds his mark. And that was quite close to a duplicate as well. Pulse bomb from Par going wide. Could have been a good recovery tool for New Zealand, but at this point, JCap getting forced away. May well get D-Max here, going back into the thick of it, feeling himself with the nano boost at his back. Nearly has a self-destruct. That'll make a lot of space on the point, but the point could actually go the way of India. Color Hex is back in the mix now, though, so the fight just kind of continues.
And no long-range healing to keep Color Hex alive, and that ends up being what caused New Zealand to lose the point. JCap tries to hold on. Now comes the EMP. It's only the catch on the fin, but it is a kill. August confirm their point capture 20% plus.
Yeah, that was a really important one because that first little bit, they'd sort of got the kill on Color Hex, they got enough positioning, they were able to get the point, but they hadn't really closed the door on the fight. So getting that follow-up there is really important. That'll maybe help them even up this percentage as well.
All lessons up next as well. A little bit of hiding here coming from Abs as... See if that means they want to do a very deep diver cast already onto Primal as well, so they can certainly afford to play super aggressively here. Straight on top of Color Hex and JCap.
Abs having to wrap around, find his tank, keep everybody topped off. Ooh, Iron Man picked up by Color Hex. Bit of a tough beat there for India. New Zealand now have a lot of priority. Pushing forward, Pulse Bomb does go, oh no, it still connects, didn't stick, but Captain Prash, I think he backed up into that hitbox. A little unfortunate, unforced error. Color Hex duplicating the Moira, not sure if that was on purpose. Hasn't quite got himself a coalescence either, unfortunately. A cash low as to back out despite the Primal Rage running, and now the extra damage coming out from Color Hex back in the regular Echo form. Still haven't quite got the point cap. It's a real protracted one as JCap actually gets its D-Mech, goes down. India managed to reset. They've got a sound barrier at their back. And New Zealand's a little bit up the creek without a paddle now in terms of ultimates. They have a nano boost, but Par is fully fleeing from Iron Man. Will not survive it. 90% now. Fight to fight territory. India hold on throughout the whole thing.
Ooh. It's a 5v4 for New Zealand as well, but now they're just losing everybody. This is going wayward very quickly for New Zealand. EMP to finish things off. Color Hex barely holding on to life, and it's only JCap remaining now with the self-destruct, which she'll have to use, but afraid it probably won't be enough.
It's just to try and create some space on the point. Has to go, trade his own life for it, unfortunately, and bit of an unmitigated disaster there for New Zealand. Color Hex finding the one kill with JCap coming back in meant there was an outside chance of them holding on, but with him going down shortly thereafter, they're just too lean at any given time at the point. Color Hex going in for a duplicate. Ooh, Abs off the well in the drink. Finn does go down, still trades his own life away. August down as well, so no supports. Color Hex not quite getting that EMP. JCap back in on a Doomfist. They're just struggling to keep any members on this point, not picking up the kills for it, and India will walk away with the first point.
And that initial 20% that India had after they flipped the point, got Color Hex down, pushed New Zealand off, never let go of the point again, and that was even despite, I think, a little tricky follow-up fight where they wanted to play aggressively. You see Akash and Abs very far up, but not really fully committing. Just a little bit of harassment damage. They have to eventually back out. They even lose Captain Prash to a bit of a sideways pulse burn from Par on top of like the pillar. Beyond that 4v5, they come through big time. I mean, Coalescence forced out the duplicate from Color Hex, and at the end of the day, 4v5 India somehow winning that fight versus New Zealand, who couldn't quite collect any kills. I think they lost a lot of damage output once Color Hex went over towards the Moira. And so India will continue now moving forward. Slow start onto Ilios, giving away 54%, but a strong finish.
It's a really good opener for sure. India taking their time on this rotation.
Trying to hide their composition until point opens. At this point, if you're New Zealand, you know something sneaky is happening, and once you confirm the composition, everyone TP's on the point. And now New Zealand have to sort of play on the outskirts a little. That gets harder once Fire is down.
That's just a clean headshot from Iron Man with the right click. The icicle's there and now locked out of the point. Color Hex not able to get a whole lot of damage in, trying to sort of nick around the sides not finding much. Teleported down again. India, the rotation works out for them, getting Iron Man low, but not able to finish him off, and having a bit of a hard time approaching this point. You don't want to get too up close and personal. They keep putting that side teleporter up that sort of draws New Zealand's attention away.
You need to see August land a buy note here. That's one of the few ways you can buy yourself into the point outside of ultimates. Telehex nearly has an ult here, and possibly I think an ult onto Akash, copy the Rhino would be a play. There's the buy note we've been looking for.
Yeah, Immortality Field immediately gets deployed, and Colorhex in going in, trying to follow up on it, finds himself just pummeled with damage. They've got all those Symmetra turrets set up on the interior now. Another nice Byronade, but it's right as J-Cup's having to back out as well. August might just get run down here if he's not careful, able to retreat back to his Diva. Just not making any headway.
I was going to go over towards the Ashe, and honestly, this is... You're not going to have a lot of angles to shoot inwards. You need to sort of pressure off angles. It's one of the few ways you can get yourself onto the point. Time is slowly running out here as well. Nano is one way to play through. It's going to have to be a Nano on the J-Cap, and I think Colorhex again needs to be able to find this copy onto the Rhine, or at least onto the Mei. Yeah. Just force their way into the point.
Or, I mean, if they've got Akash's shield down, a self-destruct will create some space, and there it is. They're going to try and use that one. Pummy is out in the middle of it. Protects himself with the light wall, though. Beautifully timed, and now charging forward. Whew, Akash really dusting close to the edge there, but is going to be just fine. Finn, however, is not can't raise himself, but Colorhex duplicating the Mei. They found Iron Man, so that's good. Here we go. There's the duplicated Blizzard. That's going to give them a lot of control over this point. They've found a lot of frozen members. It's only Colorhex here finishing them off, but he will be able to get them. Forced out of the duplicate by Akash, but Akash himself will go down. So in New Zealand finally finding some play onto the point at that 96% mark.
I'm so long for India. It's an opening sort of rush gambit that works out incredibly well, 96%. They'll just throw away all these ultimates now because, well, there's no point replaying the composition. It'd be much harder to play outside of the neutral. They just got themselves a free 96. New Zealand was so slow to respond. They had no idea how to buy themselves into the point. And India only have to win one fight.
Not a comfortable position for New Zealand to be in, having to go in for the res on Colorhex. Abs does go down, though. That keeps it interesting. New Zealand still in for a chance here. Only the Valkyrie and the Bob used for this particular one. Not a lot of pickups, but at least getting Akash and Captain Crash makes it a little bit less painful.
Thank you for the assistance.
All right, so a little bit more movement for New Zealand. This is where Pine needs to think about the Tracer again. You need something else that can really affect the point and play a little bit counter to Iron Man and Pummy, at least mark them. India can wait for ultimates here, the EMP being the big one. The time to play through. Again, they have the massive lead.
Abs a little on the low side, but is otherwise fine. Colorhex planning around this point. That's a DMAC on J-Cap, forced to use the self-destruct and isn't quite able to use it on the point. Still fights Pummy with it, though. A little bit of an error, unfortunate for Pummy. And then collects up Akash and Abs. Now Iron Man dropping. A very earnest fight win there from New Zealand in the end. And that's a really important turning point, I would say. They're starting to approach a final fight of their own.
Very interesting. Dying to the self-destruct. I would have imagined that India had enough time to all hide away from it. Just play for the EMP, that would have been fine. And New Zealand is starting to build up a good slew of ultimates. The team is also fairly spread, which means the EMP is not going to have full effectiveness. Curious to see where Pummy pops at.
Ooh, Finn down early.
Finn gets called, that's interesting.
Once again, can't res yourself. Nano Boost goes on to Colorhex and he hasn't found anything with it just yet. Go ahead and duplicates a Lucio. Immediately bumped out of it. Akash super low, but not dead. The Primal Rage is now ready. J-Cap hacked out, also super low. India get the cap, and now New Zealand have to keep boots on it as the overtime wick burns down. They have yet to find any kills. J-Cap doesn't die. Nope, finally goes down out of that mech thanks to the Abs' coalescence. And you see Finn just having a duck and weave around the point, balancing all that damage. Primal Rage bumps August off, coalescence dusts off par, and it all falls apart for New Zealand. India a little bit more competitive on this one, 97 to 99, but still very much in command of the game, pulling out a huge lead and only needed that one fight.
You could just tell that Team New Zealand had very little idea of how they were going to counter the Ryan composition once they got on top of point. They were kind of flustered around their sidelines, waiting for ultimates, waiting for anything. Not a big fan of the Ashe pick. I actually think potentially the Tracer is going to be a little bit more important just to get yourself onto the point and figure out the multi-angle approach. Also much faster to charge up on the pulse bomb as well, which could be a game changer. It took until Colorhex had the duplicate. They actually had the duplicate for a while, played it on the point, copied the Mei. And I said either the Mei or the Rhine needed to be copied there, and the Mei ended up being really good.
Well done to India taking out the first map here against New Zealand. That's going to be a bit disappointing, I'm sure, for New Zealand, but both teams putting up a strong fight here. As pointed out, India maybe just starting off really clean there. New Zealand did have a really strong start on well, though. They won the first team fight. Their positioning was really good, and they opened it up cleanly. But India just made the changes that they needed to counter their composition. So well done to India on that one. Any other thoughts on the map we've just seen there?
It's competitive for sure, but yeah, real solid opener within from India. You can't argue with that. New Zealand, they, as I sort of said before, you know, because they go in with the next map pick, and that was relatively close, at least in some areas. There's still a bit of hope for them in this particular series. It's going to be a bit of a tough turnaround. India are a tough customer here, and this is a must-win. This is a do or die for New Zealand. So back against the wall now. I think if they don't win this, they're not getting out of this group. So I'll have to see if they can deliver.
Well, they will have a second chance as they get to pick the map for the next fight. And look, we'll be back, everyone, with a short break, and hopefully New Zealand can bring it back. See you all shortly.
You asked, we listened. The McFeast is back in all its beefy, salady, saucy glory. Value means more at Macca's, so grab a McFeast lunch deal now for only $5.95.
Welcome back, everyone. And if you're just joining, did you know the World Cup home and away skin bundles are now live? Hurry and get them before they leave the shop on the 27th of June. There are 3 bundles, the EMEC, APAC, and AMER bundles. You get both the home and away skins for all the heroes in the bundles. These bundles support the teams directly by contributing to the World Cup prize pool. Shop now on Battle.net or the Overwatch 2 in-game shop. Learn more at overwatchworldcup.com. Now, if you are also just joining, we have just had India versus New Zealand on Lighthouse, and India did take it out 2-0.
On all of Ilios, really. Lighthouse and well included. We already saw a little bit of the cracks starting to form, I think, on well, where New Zealand started at 54%, as you can see here, but the rest of the entire point goes the way of India. Once India starts to really come through strong on their Winston composition, note again that they started on a Ram, Lucio, Moira comp here, and they changed the DPS line, they changed the tank, actually kept the supports going the entire way through, even though I thought maybe the supports could have used the change as well. They kept the pacing high. And once they played the dive composition into New Zealand, they had basically locked up well, pretty comfortably. I think when Color Hex stuff definitely goes down on this team, New Zealand starts to fall apart a little bit. And when the team is in a good spot and they're winning, you most notably will notice that it's Color Hex in the driver's seat as well. So definitely the linchpin for the team, which is a good thing and probably also a bad thing, considering that I think the rest of New Zealand needs to be able to step up around Color Hex instead of being incredibly reliant on Color Hex to mostly carry the weight of the team.
Yeah, Color Hex is quite a key player there. He does have a lot of experience as well, obviously previously playing for Overwatch League and things like that, so I can see how he adds a lot to the team. But look, New Zealand do have a second chance here as they get to pick the next map that we will go into, so let's take a look. They can choose from an escort or a hybrid, and it looks like they've chosen Circuit Royale, another map we've seen a lot of so far this weekend, a map with some really good high positioning and angles, a lot of Widowmakers, a lot of Sigmas, and I presume we'll see exactly the same thing when we go into this map here.
Yeah, one assumes so, and well, it's New Zealand's pick, so they're quite clearly signaling that they do feel that the DPS play they have can outclass India's here on those more sniper-oriented picks. I think that's a reasonable call to make. We were just kind of talking about the team. I don't know if relying on Color Hex is the right term, but certainly very dependent on Color Hex's overall play. And this is the kind of map where, you know, if Color Hex just kind of pulls it out, the team can coast a little bit on those coattails. We'll have to see if it pans out.
There's nothing that he can play on this map to really carry, though. The Hanzo will be the option, but he's not really a Widowmaker player. That'll have to come down to par. I think the Sojin is a possible pick, but again, not something that Color Hex has been known for in the past. So, JCap Sigma is going to have to carry that. At least that's a good news for JCap. That's been his primary hero for, I think, most of his career. So going over towards a Sigma map, definitely going to be a strong point. But, you know, expecting that Matrix gets subbed in again, which is what happened with India yesterday, India still look pretty strong.
Well, as we head over to Circuit Royale, let's give a shout out to Macca's. You can grab a McFeast lunch deal now for $5.95.
If only I had $5.95.
How much are you missing? The entire thing?
New Zealand dollars, not Australian dollars. So I currently have zero. I have 20 Australian cents.
So you can have 5 cents and change, which I'm sure you'll be used to great effect.
I don't think Australia still does a 5-cent coin. We
There's the Color Hex Hanzo coming on through. And par on the Sojin. Alright, that does make sense. Neither of the players really known for the Widowmaker. To be fair, I mean, as we saw yesterday, we're starting to get a little bit more of the Sojins being effective on this map with the Widowmaker range nerf. Sojin in particular can more effectively duel the Widowmaker on these sight lines. Still not perfect. The Widowmaker will still outrange you, but not as harshly as she used to on previous patches. And India will with the exact same comp on the opposite end.
So a straight up mirror. That's going to be really telling between these two teams.
That's probably good for New Zealand because I was a little concerned maybe that they would end up on the wrong side of a Widowmaker duel. Notably that Matrix isn't playing today, so Iron Man's staying in.
Akash was a real kind of jewel in the crown as well across Ilios, so as you mentioned, JCap getting to play his Sigma. We'll be happy to see that mirror matchup as well.
Well, this has to be a matchup that JCap can be able to win, because otherwise there's not a lot of matchups left. JCap is on what I would consider to probably be his best here. He's down to Iron Man, so that is a poor start for New Zealand.
Unfortunate. That's not the start they need. August taking an accretion there as well. Will be able to get out alive, but they were already having to cede some ground there, New Zealand, and try and play around this corner, losing JCap at probably the most inopportune moment there.
They lost all the corners now. We're onto the straight. And for New Zealand, it's going to be pretty bad news. JCap is too slow. They won't be able to touch for this at all. No contest whatsoever. Yeah, one death.
Yeah.
What's the point?
I mean, and it's one of those things, if it had been just about anyone else, you can still kind of keep the pressure out and keep playing the duel, maybe find a pick, but without the Sigma there, without the tank, you're like, none of the rest of your team is enabled on that first point. So real unfortunate beat there for New Zealand. They've got a long defense ahead of them now, 5 minutes on the clock for India.
Yeah, I mean, India is pushing up very comfortably at the moment, looking over towards support ultimates. August does lead, and I'll speak to the fact that New Zealand has taken a bit more damage. Pummy is in the line of fire, has to be saved by a lamp.
Yeah,
and even then, not good enough.
Nope, Storm Arrow will comfortably get rid of both the Immortality Field and Pummy, and Color Hicks feeling himself as well, fighting Iron Man in that duel with the help of the Zenyatta. So that's going to be, oh, okay, bit of a sneaky one on the side as Abs assassinates Par. Does trade his own life for it, of course, but it's a nice find, at least for a near on the back end.
I mean, stepping out of play stamp. That's what New Zealand want. Mistake from India. Allow New Zealand to be able to capitalize, reset India a little bit, because otherwise I think India were on a roll. Starting to head over towards ultimates. Good momentum up the hill. New Zealand have equalize.
Okay.
Opening. Flux will catch one.
On Akash. They didn't even deploy the Immortality Fields. They were comfortable. They were confident that Akash wasn't going to go down. Now he deploys his own Flux. Three members caught. August dead in the air. The rest do land down inside an Immortality Field, but it's quickly dispatched off. No trades here. No counters for New Zealand. Obviously losing August means no window to be deployed. They find Pummy. That's a really important pickup. Takes a lot of pressure off. And he was coming close to an overclock. What else can New Zealand find? They lose Finn. Akash able to thread through, get right up in the grill, and throw down just a quick melee for it. Transcendence forward from Abs to keep momentum on India's side. Trade back to fight Iron Man and Abs. Par starting to come into his own now with that overclock. Looking for a cash now as well. They will find it. Good contest. That was a real knife edge situation for New Zealand. They're able to steer through it calmly.
Iron Man really wishing he managed to connect onto Par, because he was looking for that kill onto the soldier, but Par stays alive. Slides out, back over towards spawn. Utilizes the window angle from August. It just shoots out double damage rails to allow New Zealand to complete the defense, at least for now, at least for that fight, entirely on the defense. And India, they were, again, in a decent position. They rolled themselves on top of Finn, got that kill down. Had the initial flux, the 3-man flux from Akash, which was really nice to see. 3 minutes left now of what I believe was a 5 or so minute time bank, so 2 out of those minutes gone.
Which is a good start, but still a lot of time on the clock. 3 minutes would be plenty enough to cap B in its entirety. So there's still a lot of work to be done for New Zealand, and now very lean on ultimates. India getting aggressive with the overclock from Pummy. Just laying those rail shots down the long range. Akash a little on the low side here. Dragon Strike across from Iron Man splits up the team. Immortality Field there to keep JCap and Color Hicks safe. Color Hicks still low. Same with JCap. Nearly has a Flux though. Looking to be using that soon. That's Immortality Field used already for Captain Prash. That could present an opportunity for JCap. It's not going to be there for them. And there we go. Able to catch Captain Prash. Drops him down. That's a kill. Now it's a Pummy and a Cash. New Zealand continuing the defense. Surviving those ultimates from India. And timing out their ability usages really, really well.
New Zealand bent but not broken. They were pushed really far back. The team was fairly split as well. Few members over towards the spawn side. JCap caught over towards the left-hand side from attacker POV and stuck in a corner. He actually had the shield up, under the kinetic grasp, waiting for ult, and it really was the gravitic flux. I mean, if it wasn't for that, things were looking pretty poor for New Zealand, but good catch results in a kill. India reset once more. Time is becoming a real factor now. New Zealand have found their bastion defense, and B so far has gone well. Taylor is very pushed up though, so New Zealand can't afford any mistakes here.
Yeah, and well, so far they have not made any in the course of this B defense. well, maybe that's not quite fair to say, but certainly they've continued to hold true. And here we go, big one. There we go. They all land down in the immortality field. Gets quickly taken out. August down, Abs low, but not finished off. Color Hex as well now dead. Not able to find the proactivity as Akash is getting right up in everyone's faces, forcing them to address him, and they just can't. He's got too much help at his back. Finn, super late on this Transcendence. They're trying to stay on the cart and see if they can keep this defense going. They've got JCap in the mix. Getting the DPSs back soon, but nope, Iron Man's got JCap, dashboard to find Finn. And I had to say, there was a beat there where if they'd found Abs, they maybe could have turned it back around, but just weren't able to finish him off, and they were so focused on him. Akash had free reign through the fight.
That was just a change in pacing from India. They swap over towards Genji most notably, but also the Tracer there for Pummy for a little while as well. Now he's back over towards the Sojin. Diving directly into the back line of Team New Zealand. Sowing a bit of havoc there. August tried to pull through on the window. They got handily countered by Akash. The Flux was already back on 63% by the way, and now Iron Man's going to stay on this Genji, play through the blade. We'll see if that ends up being any effective at all. She's still not in an amazing spot on this current patch.
No major defensive tools for New Zealand though, so if Iron Man can pick up one and get out with his life, that will be a reasonable start. The cart starting to draw dangerously close to the cap. A minute and a half, this could easily go either way, and with Pathfinding out Pummy, it's a slowdown that New Zealand sorely need on this defense.
Also fly through now.
Oh, there it is. Iron Man tried to go in for it. Has to pull the blade out now. Took an accretion on the way in. Yep, gets one, goes down immediately. Meanwhile, the rest of India has just been smacked.
I think Iron Man might look for a change here, so play through the life, go for the blade. No swap to come on through, so he'll continue going through on the Genji here. That's the way you really do suffer in the long range battles. Hanzo, Sojin together is difficult for India, I think, to deal with, especially given the amount of time left to play through. Dragon Strike from Hex and Jacob on the Flux, enough to defend there, especially when you're catching Iron Man.
Oh, that's so important. New Zealand are leaning up on ultimates, that what they need is picks to stall things out, and now with another one on Pummy. This is actually approaching a bit of a dangerous spot for India if they want to complete this cap.
They should get a Akash. They should get a Akash as well.
They can, and there's no really big news. They need to not overextend for it though. Akash low pressured. They've lost the immortality field, but Akash ducking around the corner in cover. JCap doesn't want to go into far. Iron Man getting aggressive, maybe too aggressive, and now the shoe's on the other foot. Color Hex is a little bit out in the open. Akash pressuring forward. Color Hex doesn't back up with the rest of the team. You saw JCap pulling out of there, and now they're one DPS down. Abs going aggressive with a Transcendence. August not rescued by Finn. It's a bit of a bad start for New Zealand. Overclock running up from Par, needs to find a lot, only finds one. Traces his own life. Finn down as well as Iron Man getting aggressive. Akash still has a Flux available. Overtime begins. New Zealand have the spawns coming out soon, but JCap is about to be back in base. Here's a Dragon Blade now. What can he find with it? Oh, sorry, I lied. It's a Dragon Strike, and nothing is found. Dragon Blade not there just yet, just keeping New Zealand trapped in the base. Finn super low, not even able to come out and contest the cart, and I think that's going to just about seal it for India. And that was a little bit odd for New Zealand. They should have been able to finish off Akash. They ended up not, and the whole thing unravels from there.
I mean, you have to commit in that situation. You're already 5 versus 3, by the way. If you want to look at it through that lens, it's an extended 5v3 that New Zealand lose because they failed to clean up the last 3 members. It shouldn't be that difficult, realistically. Akash is already half HP. He's under a lot of duress, in a pretty poor situation as well, bad positioning. And New Zealand just couldn't get the damage, and because they didn't kill Akash, they end up being overcommitted. They wouldn't have been overcommitted if they had secured the kill, or if they just let Akash go. But the high value play is to get the 2 picks they initially did, then clean up the rest of 3. And getting the tank would have been the minimum there, but failing to do that means multiple players are really far ahead as the Team India respawns to rejoin the team, and then suddenly New Zealand starts falling apart because their players are kind of all over the place, which would have been fine, again, if they managed to get the kill and end up just getting snowballed. A couple of times that New Zealand have lost in the areas of this map were due to snowballs. That was looking like a very clean defense on C up until that final moment.
And it's a little bit unfortunate because if you look back across how that whole map worked out, essentially non-existent defense on A. They took 1 loss on JCap at the worst possible time and had to completely abandon the A point. Had a great defense across B, burned down the clock, really recovered from what happened on A, set themselves up nicely for a good C defense, and almost did everything they needed to. They fell short of the mark just in that last little bit. Now they have to cap all the way out and then win in a time bank situation if they want to keep their series hopes alive here. And I dare say their tournament hopes alive.
Yeah, I think that would be correct.
Oh.
Jacob does get Iron Man traded for his own life, though, so you will say that this is still good for New Zealand. They have the closer respawns. India are very much playing experimentally here with the Rhine composition. Not normal at all for this map unless you're going specifically for spawn cap, which they are. They can do with this comp of spawn cap. So after they lose this situation, because again, it is a trade, with Iron Man down, they have to back out.
Yeah.
I think India are going to struggle for subsequent fights because all this comp can do is spawn cap.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a tough situation for India to be in. New Zealand need a quick push through here as well. Obviously, unlikely that they get something quite as quick as what India got on A, but we'll have to see. Trying to send the Rhine back behind the team, but that just leaves half the team high and dry. Akash ends up having to charge to get back with everyone. Trying to deal with some of those structures. The ice wall going up. Iron Man taking another big hit there, able to go cold and survive. But no more immortality field here. Those are abs ducking for cover. India just taking a huge amount of pressure, but crucially, New Zealand's not actually getting kills. Look at the clock. They've started to run short on time. Akash down though. That's going to open things up.
Yeah, finally, that's the important kill, and now the rest of the dice for India start rolling through. All the pieces of the puzzle break apart. New Zealand should pretty comfortably push through here. A couple get a losing fin there, not ideal, but respawn still close enough. Looks like India might still retain the composition. I mean, they're probably just too heavily bought in now, given that they have ultimates coming online. A little bit of sunk cost fallacy there. Again, just not playing the correct comp for the defense. They took a massive gamble. I think that gamble is starting to go sideways for them.
Certainly not paying off. And all right, light wall getting deployed well in advance of the point. Here we go. You're trying to play through a cash in too early, goes down already. And not to the ability you'd usually expect, but hey, there it is. They've already dealt with the immortality field, just pressuring India back the ice wall to try and slow JCap around the side. They're still comfortable fighting through that narrower sight line. Pick off Iron Man, teleport play. Not sure what Pummy was looking for with that one. Certainly distracted New Zealand a little. That's a two-man sound barrier. Captain Crash and Abs, the only beneficiaries of it. Akash charging back in, but wasn't there when that sound barrier came in. So they're already one support short, now losing Akash again. It is stalling out the cap just that little bit longer, so credit where it's due for India, but that was a protracted loss, and it let New Zealand charge up a lot of ultimates. They didn't have to use anything that entire exchange.
And now India will finally make the swap happen. I mean, it was inevitable. They were always going to have to make the swap. The question was going to be when. They sacked the entire 8-point forward, and it's a little bit of a weird situation because if you remember the opening engagement, it was Iron Man that went down, and well, with 4 players alive, you're not really making the swap then because too many players are still up. You need a full reset. By the time they found that full reset, they were committed on ultimates.
Dragon Strike straight out. It forces Akash and Captain Prash out in the open. They're kind of stuck there, had to put the immortality field down. They are alive, obviously, and the team's able to regroup around them a bit, but New Zealand has taken a lot of ground here.
They're going to get outranged here as well. Iron Man on the Genji is going to be good for C, but on B, going to struggle at least a little bit. Last turn to play the ultimates.
Very nice immortality field, keeping everyone alive as Iron Man was getting aggressive. Means he can't get those dash resets. And there we go, par with the overclock on an absolute tear. Very comfortable find there, and that should be a cap out for New Zealand. They've got a good, healthy amount of time on the board. Remember, they need a cap all the way through C and then win in a time bank if they want to actually even the series up.
I mean, this is still just India reeling from the decisions of earlier on. They're getting snowballed from the Rhine comp they played earlier because they didn't get to play for A realistically at all. Now they're behind on ultimates because they had a late swap onto their desired comp for B. And as I already mentioned, the Iron Man swap into the Genji, that's more of a C point swap. So they had already basically, at least on some level, conceded. B is looking pretty hard here. Might as well swap over to a C point comp already, which they are on now. A lot of time on board for New Zealand. They just have to finish.
Fantastic overall. India currently experiencing the consequences of their actions. And a bit of free push around the side going in for the dash. Ooh, Iron Man didn't find it on the dash, but he still managed to find it on a quick melee, and they found Par through the rest of the fight. Iron Man does trade his life. They found Finn as well. There we go. That'll stop New Zealand short. India, despite the one loss in the middle there of Iron Man, they get enough work done. JCap takes a dive off the side. He knows that this one's done for.
New Zealand had ults there as well. Couldn't quite play through them. Halo in a good position, but they need to be able to consider committing to either the high ground play, wrapping around the outside, going coast, fighting for a little bit of control and pull, or focusing on the point itself. And the window out.
Oh.
And Jacob not ulting, that means New Zealand just want to exit, but Colorhex already used dash.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a few times where Colorhex has kind of died a little bit more in the open than is necessary, expecting...
He had nowhere to run there.
Yeah, he had nowhere to get out naturally, but you know, often there's been instances where he doesn't necessarily have the supports in sight lines, he doesn't have the tank still with him. There just seems a slight bit of disconnect here and there. Now getting aggressive here is Iron Man with the blade, immediately cuts down JCap, traded out. That's an opportunity for New Zealand. They do obviously lose JCap on the whole. Immortality Field used, popping some windows out now is August. Abs has a Transcendence running. August goes down, Pummy with that overclock, just pummeling these members. Colorhex going down, not able to pick up one on the back line with Abs. New Zealand, they at least, again, have retained a number of ultimates, but they're not actually getting opportunities to play through them anyway.
And now they're going to get spawn camped here as well. Jacob heavily out of position. This should be a freebie. Jacob can't reconnect with the rest of the team at all. And he needs to stop self-staggering here because he's trying to stay alive, but maybe he will for now.
Okay,
Trance has to come through.
They've managed to turn the tide just a smidge by finding Abs, and now Colorhex getting aggressive, finds Iron Man. Captain Prash going down, has to pop an overclock to make it happen. But they didn't have to use anything, well, sorry, I say anything else. They did use the Transcendence, obviously, but JCap has again preserved the Grav.
Hello there.
Okay, so ends up running away and gets away with it, I suppose. I thought he was going to die there for sure, but
Like it.
they'll get away from it. And I actually think for India, they should have just overcommitted onto Jacob, at least secure that kill, then played the full 5v4 later on. They kind of got ulted as a couple members went after JCap. New Zealand then ult out of spawn, and now New Zealand have recovered their situation. They were at risk of being spawn camped.
They're threatening a cap, and they've got the ultimates to back it up. This Flux is going to be so important. It's been about 3 fights in a row where he's not actually used it, gone down too early, or the team's just not been in a position to commit. Goes for it, finds a cache. They don't have great sightlines to him, though. Immortality Field has been committed already from India, no longer in the play now. They have that window down. New Zealand taking their time. This is a real touch-and-go fight. They cannot afford to have anyone get picked off. Colorhex looking for an angle on the blade. Has found himself Iron Man. Doesn't want to let himself get too low, though. Still looking for entry around the side. Probably going to be an overtime fight at this point. No ultimates on the board for India. They're a ways away from even a Transcendence, and Colorhex reckons he's found his opportunity. No, Iron Man turns it around, has the Zenyatta at his back. Colorhex did not want to pull out the blade just for that one. And now one man down, 20 seconds on the clock. New Zealand, can they find anything?
You can't really afford to reset. It's the worst time to die, and so because they have to pull back, it's do or die now, and it was already pretty do or die to start with. Orcs at least has a window to play with long range. Has to be considerate of the window angle. This is it now. Touch payload, blade in. Colorhex still looking for off angle, but he's just got to be in a duel again versus Iron Man.
Yeah, he maybe just needs to straight up go in for it. Abs has a Transcendence now, so New Zealand, the one stroke of luck they had was that their ultimate still wasn't there. 1 for 1, losing Colorhex though means no blade again. Finn is the one putting the team on his back, fighting Iron Man. Akash not getting much with the Gravitic Flux now, just in the main trunk of the fight. Those respawners will be there. No Immortality Fields either side of the fence. Transcendence from Finn, so critical. Abs trying to Transcendence to get out of base, and New Zealand, they just need to deal with Abs, keep him off the cart for a fraction of a second, and there we go. They managed to pull it off in the overtime. Not super comfortable, but they're still in for a shot.
Man, that was so whack. I mean, New Zealand end up losing Colorhex again, no blade to come on through, and Finn saves the day. What a two-piece from Finn to secure it for Team New Zealand. In an extremely rough spot, they had something like 16 seconds left to play through on the final contest. 2 ultimates barely. One of them didn't even get to be played. India were looking like they were going to hold that, win 2 maps, but New Zealand have rescued it. I believe Abs went down there as well, so no Transcendence until the very end, and that's shocking, unfortunately. So we're going to play through this time back now. You have to remember, a lot of this defense went wrong because of the decisions on A for India, choosing to go for the Ryan spawn camp, and that could work out if you high roll for that and you waste about 2 to 3 minutes. It's really, really good, but you lose Iron Man in the first engage. You can't afford to lose anybody in that spawn camp. As soon as you lose somebody, spawn camp is basically done for. And outside of spawn camping, that comp has no value at all. So India just, sadly, they shot themselves in the foot with that, and that's how they lost most of the time on A and B and had to make most of that recovery happen on C, which nearly did happen, but at the end of the day, New Zealand saved the day.
Let's also remember New Zealand on their A defense had a pretty disastrous run of things just from JCap getting picked. So if they can have a better run of it this time around, A is where most of the gameplay is going to happen. They need to not have that happen to them twice, for one thing. and they need to really set a
This is where
precedent
all
here.
the gameplay is likely to happen.
Yeah.
And, well, getting the attack first, New Zealand defense, and as you mentioned, it was Jacob dying before, but remember, Jacob died quite a while after this. He needs to be careful now. Has a grasp available, so okay for now. One of the issues I had with New Zealand's defense on A was that they were not able to really contest all the hairpin at all.
That's immortality field. Jacob,
He's
no,
about to die.
too
He's
much
down.
pressure. Yeah, just stuck on some geometry. Pummy more than happy to drill down the immortality field and throw the rail shot across. They weren't able to heal up JCap while he was in that immortality field, losing August as well and pushing continually forward is India. I don't think New Zealand are going to get a contest opportunity.
Too many late deaths. Too many late deaths. That's 2 extra they can afford it. Okay, Jacob can go down. August is, it's not ideal for him to go down. Color Hicks can't go down. To do.
It will always be in overtime from here on out. That's the one silver lining for New Zealand. So cap or no cap or J cap doesn't make too big a difference if they can win a fight. And as it happens, they've immediately found Abs. They find Iron Man as well. And here we go, looking to collect the last few, just force India off this point, finding a cash. No last minute turnaround on this fight from India. So that is essentially play to the A point. If you get it and can move just a meter off, you've got somewhere. You have the win. New Zealand is a very clearly defined goal.
Well, you do have to be able to cap A point, though. And that's the difficulty, because in this 1 minute, if there's any sort of slowdown, if there's any issues for New Zealand at all, they've lost, because 1 minute is not a lot to play through. And for 1 minute, if you can even get an A cap, you've done a lot. You've done most of the legwork there. So the fact that the payload doesn't move further than this is not a bad thing for India. And it's the slow loss on A for New Zealand that haunts them again. Last time it was just the 1 kill that ended A point for them. This time it was 3, but they're always unanswered. They're always losing, unfortunately. This kind of neutral damage deal. New Zealand can't out-damage India in that duel at all. We saw a little bit of experimentation from India last time on spawn camp. They got to do it again, but this time with the Ram instead of the Rhine. I don't know this is necessarily better, but it does allow them to have a little bit more of a stopgap to say, if we do lose the early spawn camp, we'll come back for a second contest on A. The Ram comp has a little bit more to say in that matchup than a Rhine comp would be. Ooh. So this is slightly safer, but still not ideal, I have to say. JCap hovering around right now. They haven't changed any other picks around. I don't think he's actually going to roll out on this Rhine. No, he's not. I don't think so.
There we go.
Attackers incoming. Stop the payload.
India are just wanting to waste New Zealand's time. They're well aware that if they lose a member, if they lose a fight here, could be over for them. They'll have to find a contest further on A, but New Zealand also against the clock on the spawn camp. That's Iron Man. Picked off. Very nice start from Power with that rail shot, and now India split up. If they take some trickle deaths here, they could be in a lot of trouble. Pummy goes down. And there we go, looking to get a cash now. They will collect both him and Captain Prash, so the card is underway. India will have an opportunity to recontest, and they've burned out some clock, so it will be a recontest in the overtime before the A cap is truly being threatened. But if New Zealand can pick up just one more pick, one more fight, they do keep the series alive.
Well, New Zealand can win this in the GOT as well because they're close to the ultimates. That's the one negative of that loss for India, is this time around they got fully wiped at spawn. Everyone died. Iron Man changes over towards the Genji now. He was the first dead to par, nonetheless. So New Zealand should be able to find ultimates. You'll notice that we're into OT already off the back of one fight, and that's the one good thing about the spawn camp, is it takes all the time for New Zealand to beat.
Just barreling in. Akash is right in the thick of it and taking an absolute beating. Abs loses the immortality field, and they found Akash, and I think that might spell the beginning of the end. Iron Man trying to wreak havoc in the back line. They found a couple fights, both support, but he goes, he gets the kill. Pars though, he's down. It's only JCap. It's only JCap trying to fight both this DPS and support with the window down, and he just has to sit on the card. Finn cannot get to it, and it's done. Iron Man on his own turns it around for India.
Wow, 2-0 there coming through from India. New Zealand just couldn't get it done in the overtime. They had the early lead. I think they had the ultimate advantage as well, but couldn't stay alive. Iron Man coming back on the Genji. The Genji's been the secret pick for Team India on Circuit Royale. And New Zealand, I think it's the A point for me that was the biggest difference, right? They just could not hold on A for either the regulation time or the time bank, instantly losing it. And this is what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, India, they capped A and they didn't get any further than to B, but they don't need to. Just capping A might be enough to win the map, and indeed it was.
India with a bit of experimentation there as well, having those different comps, holding the spawn doors really close, which didn't pay off for them maybe at first, but in that defense on the fourth time round really worked well for them. So well done on that. It looked close. It looked like maybe that wasn't going to work for them again, and New Zealand was going to actually take that point, but it appears that no, that did work out for them in the end.
And I have nothing but compliments for India on that. We sort of set the scene at the start of this of how important this series was for both of these teams. For India to sort of climb through this with a very confident 2-0. It does feel like a chunk of it was New Zealand not being able to measure up, but that means India with a benchmark for New Zealand to clear, not the other way around, and that's quite important for India moving forward. A 2-0, both in terms of match record and map record within those matches, is exactly the start they want. The opponents are only going to get tougher and tougher. They've still got Thailand on the cards. They've still got Australia on the cards, but they're starting to look like the first serious contender for one of those top 2 spots.
It's a clean start. I mean, a 2-0 start. They've won both their opening matches. By the way, they haven't dropped a single map yet either. So 2-0 versus Malaysia, 2-0 versus New Zealand. You can argue that, as Matt said, you're kind of starting on the lower end here, and you'll start to get into more of the difficult games a little bit later on, but that's definitely the best start you could hope for India.
I think New Zealand has also been, as we kind of said, a death knell for their tournament life. They could still have a bit of a resurrection here. I'm not going to rule it out, but I mean, they've lost to Thailand, they've lost to India. What else do they have on the slate here, right? They could pick up a win against Malaysia. I think they should pick up a win against Malaysia. Can they beat Australia? I think that's unlikely. So overall, I think this is the beginning of the end for New Zealand. Bit of a heartbreaker, not going to lie. But again, my actual takeaway is I have nothing but compliments for India. That's exactly what we wanted to see out of a team that had a very different showing the last time they were able to
moment and have a chat with Pummy, who is on the line from India. Hi Pummy, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. How are you feeling after another win on the board?
I'm feeling great.
Oh.
Unfortunately, cutting out a little bit for us there, so.
Yeah, audio's getting cut a little bit there. Not sure if it's our end or yours.
I liked the look of your answer, though. If I could lip read, then I think that might. Let's try that again.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're feeling good. We had a hard week of practice, so it's nice to be able to see that pay off and get the win on ping. So.
And I was actually going to mention, I mean, obviously you guys have been boot camping a whole lot. You're all there playing together, which is obviously a big benefit in general. But you have, as you mentioned, that downside of the ping. So how do you guys feel at this point in the tournament? Do you feel like the boot camping has been paying off? Do you feel like you're getting that little bit of differential just from having everyone in the one place, knowing that you've got your harder matches ahead of you still?
Yeah, we signed up for this. We knew we'd be playing on ping, so it's not an excuse. It's not something to complain about. We're just going to deal with it and play the best we can.
You guys look good so far. A 2-0 start, 4-0 in maps. That last map was probably the one map you nearly came close to losing. I wanted to ask if there were any concerns on Circuit Royale. You guys opted to spawn camp twice, second time with the Ramacha. Interested in the decision making on that, and if you felt like that map maybe went a little too close.
Yeah, I think I was negative for most of the map, but that doesn't really matter because we got the win, right? So, yeah, we decided to spawn hold. We knew the second composition we had more win condition ults, like the Ram ult and Sojourn ult, and we knew that was a better comp, and they would already have a read on the Rhine stuff. So we kind of pulled that out from deep down under. So I'm glad it worked out and we were able to clutch that last fight.
I've got a quick question as well for you. Obviously, you've had a solid start in this tournament now. You currently have the best match record, and that match record can't be beaten today, at least. You're on track to the gatekeeper for you guys. How confident are you?
We're feeling good going into Thailand. We're really excited to play them, and I think we're the team to beat. So
I think that's a very reasonable take, given your performance just now against New Zealand.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations again on your 2-0 so far, and good luck for the rest of your matches. Thanks so much for your time today, Pummy. Oh, look, we get to see the rest of the team. Hi, everyone.
Congratulations.
All right, thank you guys.
Oh, well done to them. What a fantastic win. They seem very thrilled, very happy. They're in a fantastic position. I'm sure they're going to go and celebrate now, but that's all right. We are moving on to our next matches. So up next, we will have Australia versus Singapore, which we have previously speculated that this should be a clean, easy win for Australia. There should be no problems here as far as we can see so far.
Imagine the 0. You'd still expected Australia to qualify out, but maybe in that second slot rather than the first one.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see. We are going to take a short break. We'll be back soon, everyone.
You asked, we listened. The McFeast is back in all its beefy, salady, saucy glory. Value means more at Macca's, so grab a McFeast lunch deal now for only $5.95.
Welcome back, everyone. We have just seen India win 2-0 versus New Zealand. Let's take a look at some of the
relive this. You know, it happened. We can forget about it. We can move on with our days, with our lives even. I've never heard of this team before. Never heard of this country. I don't know anything about it. I'm actually closing my eyes. That's what I'm going to do. They're not replaying the sounds, so if I close my eyes, it's not happening.
You know what? Team New Zealand might have played this game with their eyes closed too. I'm not going to lie to you.
That's fair. That's fair.
No, they put up a good effort, but there was just some clear issues happening here when, you know, you look back over towards Ilios, where outside of India starting out with a Ram comp, and then, you know, which is not an ideal comp to begin on, and not a surprise they lost the opening couple of fights, but beyond that, India were in control. Then you look over towards Lighthouse, where India wanted to come through with the Ryan comp, and again, not an ideal comp for that map, but they didn't know how to counter it, they didn't know how to get themselves into the point. Made a weird ash swap, had to wait until, you know, Duplicate was not only available, but Color Hex had to be willing to use. And Circle was a lot closer, but A point pretty tragic for Team New Zealand.
New Zealand definitely did put up a fight. They knew what was in what it would cost them today if they got that loss. So they tried very hard. So well done to them. But we do need to move on to our next match, which will be Australia versus Singapore today. And I think we're going to take a look at the Australia team starting up first. Let's have a look here now. I feel like we've spoken a lot about this team. But we will have Kuffer starting today, not Punk.
And a whole lot of Burt.
Burtlog. You're a fan of the Burtlog, aren't you?
Big fan of just the name above all else. Burtlog. it's straightforward. It's punchy. It's entertaining. Just yeah, 10 out of 10 name. One of the best I've seen in my career. In fact.
I don't remember if Kuffer did play yesterday or not. I think it was Punk mainly the entire way through.
I think we've seen a lot of Punk play. Yeah, it'll be good to see.
Not that they'll, I think, need too much help in this tournament until they get to, you know, maybe the Team India game will be the scary one for Australia down the line. But for today, might be a bit of a softball. We'll see.
Well, while it might not be a scary match for Australia, let's take a look at Singapore anyway and see who they have on their starting lineup here. We got Ash Kane in the tank, Vips and Cups coming in for DPS, and Paper and Fafa on the supports.
Yeah, so still no Vital on the DPS. It's going to be Cups on that. And starting off with Ash Kane, we have seen Xenofly only the once so far on Circuit Royale in their first series up against Malaysia. So they've not felt a particular need to sub the tanks in and out. I believe we actually saw Ash Kane on Circuit Royale again yesterday. So they don't only bring in Xenofly to play the Sigma on that one particular map. So. Yeah. This is the Singapore that we're seeing for the time being, and I mean we've kind of said all that needs to be said about them and about what we're expecting out of this matchup. I suppose the real thing I mentioned before the break was there is the outside chance of an upset here. Australia just needs to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, but very, very far outside chance, like
very, very
extremely
slim.
Far outside.
Very slim. Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't buy that lotto ticket, unfortunately.
Certainly not.
The odds are not really that good. I think Australia should be the team that comes out quite heavily favored here.
I think a snowball would actually have more of a chance in hell.
Oof. Well, Singapore have their work cut out for them, and they will be starting on Lijiang Tower versus Australia. Good old control maps is the map selection. Now, for those wondering, the loser of the map does pick the second map, which would be an escort or hybrid. Yep. And even though we don't think it'll go to a third, if it does, it would be a push map. But we're pretty confident Australia will clean this one up 2-0.
It's a real funny way of saying Singapore gets to pick the second map.
They will.
Yeah, it's a real funny way of saying Singapore gets to pick Circuit Royale.
We'll see what it gets picked, though. We'll be curious as to what kind of other map choices might come on through. We saw Gibraltar yesterday, actually, and
we did.
Australia is one of the few teams that have gone to a map 3 outside to see it today, but we'll see how the match turns out.
All right, well, the players are ready, and so we'll head on into Lijiang Tower. Over to you.
There's a flag on that green spacesuit, and I recognize it, but I don't know where from, and it's really bothering me. And I don't know how to look it up. I don't know how
Google detectives to work.
Yeah, someone please tell me. Like, I know that I know it, but I can't remember what it is. And it is driving me nuts.
That's one step above not knowing what you don't know. You know what you don't know.
I know exactly what I don't know, yeah. Much to my own
Nanda's going to start on
detriment.
the Torb again. That's what he played yesterday on Lijiang Tower. Versus a dive comp. Maybe they were expecting that on the opposite end, but Singapore's going to roll out on the Ram.
Singapore, bit of a slow starter for them. They've at least dealt with Nanda's turret, but that's about it. Vip's going to be the first pick as Kuffer just getting nice and aggressive with that. Ooh, that looked like Cup over the edge. Yeah, there he goes, and collecting up the last couple of members in the fight. Very clean start from Australia.
First cap coming on through. Singapore hoping for a better engagement the second time around, and, you know, realistically, they have that Sombra advantage as well. The Torb is annoying, but shouldn't be that hard to get past. Now that we're rolling out around through White Room side, still yet to really find much to work with here.
Going for push through the side room instead. And slowly marching their way onto the point is Ash Kane. Immortality Field already deployed. Taking a fair bit of pressure. They actually find Kuffer. Obviously no Immortality Field on the side of Australia. Didn't have that coalescence available just yet, and window deployed by Paper. So Australia just backing out of this one, letting it happen. Kuffer will be able to rejoin the team shortly. Nanda actually finds Vip, so that might make this reset a bit quicker for Australia. It's a 4v4, now 5v4 as Kuffer rejoins. You can see him just in the distance there. A coalescence as well, keeping the team in it comfortably. Paper actually picked off by the top. Sound very not so much effect. Ash Kane popping Annihilation as well. He just had that big shiny button on the screen and he really wanted to press it.
Yep, and the one that went back now. By the way, the turret posthumously doing a bunch of work for Nanda there, as mentioned. That will continue through for now. They did give up the point a little bit. I mean, Singapore rushed on. Australia, I guess, respected that. Maybe gave over a little bit too much respect and allowed Singapore to be up to make the capture. 28%. They got something on board. EMP now available. A little bit too overcommitted. Quite a bit overcommitted, I would have to say, on the Annihilation there. Australia sitting on 4 ultimates.
I mean, even the sound barrier felt like an overcommitment. 1 for 1 so far. Up and down is a bit of a tough break, but they look like they'll be able to dispatch. I mean, the Torb turret is absolutely going
it's a
off.
3-man Torb turret kill.
Yeah. Well, I'm having a good time. This is funny.
Actually, I say Burlock came in late. Possibly, you know, he went as soon as he could after the hack, and Kuffer just fell too quickly. So, what credit is due, Singapore did manage to get that kill, but it's, how does a Torb turret kill 3 in that fight? That is an interesting circumstance.
Yeah, certainly a rare kill feed. Collect that one for kill feed bingo. That's actually rarer than getting a Torb hammer kill, it feels. But Singapore, they deal with the turret first this time. They recognize that it's the main carry on Australia. Quinn down as well. Nice find from Cup. So going to be forced off here as Australia, rather, and that's at 98%. So really important opening beat there for Singapore. Let's see if they can follow up, find something else. There we go, taking out the carry again. Getting aggressive. They have a Death Blossom and they want to get in position, get Boot back. It was completely red. And now the commitment coming back in from Australia. They've got the Coalescence, they've got the Annihilation, and just clean onto the point. Singapore not able to find the timing, find the opportunity to utilize those other ultimates that they had, and Australia 98%, 99 overtime will burn down. Don't think anyone here from Singapore will be able to touch.
A little bit too far away there. Australia had all the ultimates to play through. Kuffer with the Annihilation to finish things off, and a super clean wipe. Means that Singapore can't really do too much further about that on the re-engage. And on that though, Singapore got another sneaky cap in the middle. I think there's been 2 back caps now essentially that Australia give away. So Singapore at least had to walk away with a little bit of point capture. Won't be 100-0. It's still very one-sided.
So far, yeah. Significantly so. Not totally unexpected, but still a bit of a rough start for Singapore. I almost think it'd be funny if Vips did, in fact, play it just to play the Australian hero. He is. That's a real jump.
It's okay in the mirror. It's reasonable in the mirror. It's not ideal, but it's, you know, you'll most likely still lose out in the, you will lose out in the May Ice Wall battle, which is super important for a map like this, but you can find some good burst damage. Could put Australia into a tricky spot.
Just walled out around the side. Trying to throw the damage in as much as possible. Buffer's in, getting a little bit low, sweating a little. But will otherwise be fine is now Singapore getting aggressive. Double vortex, everybody slow down. Ashkane's getting kind of low and no immortality field here for Singapore, obviously. They've actually forced their way onto this point to start with Australia. Nanda a little low. Ooh, there we go, pick onto Vips. That's going to open the door for Australia to start piling back in. They want to deal with Ashkane first, and that immortality field keeping Australia nice and safe as Ashkane tried to pressure forwards. And here we go, the rest of the cleanup coming through now. Fuffer's in. Cup, nope, has to deal with stop and deal with that turret first. Either way, point cap going back over to Australia.
That'll allow Paper to go down here as well, so a couple of late deaths. Scuffer looking to maybe go too deep. If he dies, yeah, that would be really awkward for Team Australia, but is saved by the supports, and back they go. And a exit kill there by Quinn onto Vips. Second time Vips will die here, unfortunately. And Singapore, they once again get the 14%, so it's not like they're not going to get any percentage cap here. Australia give that one away, and they played it super patiently. They respected the Junkrat. Didn't even play directly into the Junkrat effective range. I mean, they were very much playing on the outskirts until Cuffer found an angle to run in there with the Nemesis form and take Vips down.
And already real low on the entrance, having to take the time to heal him up. They had those support ultimates, and there we go, Vips already down. Annihilation running as Singapore teleport themselves onto the point, just directly into the danger zone. Very cheap fight for Australia with just those two ultimates.
Singapore still building up towards some ultimates. Bit of a Lucio battle on the outskirts here. I think Bertlog is feeling a little bit of pain, but it's wasting the time of Fafa, who, okay, well, actually both the players will disengage. Bertlog's going to run away and Fafa rejoins the team. Now Singapore can finally move forward. They need to drop the photon barrier here and then play through the support ultimates, notably the Coalescence. Coalescence is the most key ultimate to push forward with.
And there we go. The wall is committed. Nanda down early in the fight. That's a good find there from Singapore. Australia haven't really got anything much to turn around. They're just backing out at the point. They're letting this one happen. They know that it could be final fight if they can push their way back in later. They're forcing more ultimates out as well. They're actually committing now. They've gone in with Quinn with the overclock. Only finds Cup, and that's with a quick melee as well. They're still ticking up past the 90th percentile. They do force more ultimates out of Singapore, which is something. Nanda coming in, just him and Cuffer, but they reckon they can get this done. They've found Ashkane for one thing, and they could well get it done. Aki does go down in the trade, but without Ashkane there's not many people from Singapore to keep present on the point. Bertlog buffers in, called out a 1-to-1, but no healers here for Cuffer to stay alive with. That means he will go down. In Australia, bit of a drawn out one, still finding kills now late in the day. It's just Nanda on his own. They've got Paper. Okay. All right.
Okay, indeed.
All right.
And they'll get it done.
Yeah, Oz wins.
Even in low numbers, Nanda will be able to clutch on through. Vips had a couple of kills in there, but Australia full confidence that they could fully commit into that fight with whatever they had left and will be able to clean up 2-0. So no counter engage from Singapore. No point capture at the end.
Well, I had a good time. I don't know about you. I enjoyed myself. And that's the most important thing.
Glad to hear you enjoyed yourself there. Look, I'd like to give a special shout out to Nanda's turret on the first point. Really doing some solid work there.
Yeah,
well done to, well done by them. But look, that very impressive. Yeah, got some 3 kills at one point. Really, opened up that team fight. So well done. But look, we knew that one was going to be a quick fight, but 2-0. Singapore did get some times on the point, but that might have just been Australia holding back a little bit and just relaxing a little bit. They weren't too worried.
Safe.
Yeah,
they're just respecting the team. That's all. They just no reason to lose on point. They can comfortably pull back a little and give it away and just push back in.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Singapore will get to choose the map that they might be able to make a comeback on. So we'll find out after this break what Singapore has decided between an escort or a hybrid map. See you all soon.
You asked, we listened. The McFeast is back in all its beefy, salady, saucy glory. Value means more at Macca's, so grab a McFeast lunch deal now for only $5.95.
Welcome back, everyone, and we've just had Australia versus Singapore on Lijiang Tower, which Australia did clean sweep 2-0. Any thoughts or anything else to add? It was quite a quick match, so not too sure.
It's exactly as we imagined it would happen, so nothing else to add there, really.
I imagined I would be richer when it happened, so that didn't quite line up in reality, which is unfortunate. I would have, if I were a millionaire while it happened, it would have been better. But you know, I'll take what we got.
Yeah. If you're paid by the hour, you will be rich. You just have to wait for the hour to take over.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, look, Singapore did put up a bit of a fight, as we see here. They did manage to get some time on the control point, but unfortunately just could not hold it at any point. Australia really just did have a bit of a stronger team and stronger comps here for this one.
Australia having a bit of a stronger team, I think, is going to be a very common theme in the games that they play. They are still tipped to be the favorite here. There's no two ways about it. This is essentially the team that's currently tipped to be the favorite, playing up against a team that we are, at this point, not expecting to pick up any matches. They've already had their some of their more winnable matches pass them by, unfortunately, against both Malaysia and New Zealand. They lost both of them. We're just kind of painting by the numbers on this particular one.
Speaking of Australia, as you can see here, they have a bit of an updated roster going into map 2. We have Punk subbed in for Tank in place of Kuffer, and Nami has come in as the second DPS in place for Nanda. Bit of an update there on their roster. Still a very strong team. Very strong players. The entire Australian roster, very strong over the board.
So we're probably going to circuit again, I have to assume, or something that would indicate Nami and Quinn as a duo coming in. That was what we saw yesterday on circuit.
There it is.
Punk is also going to be there to play the Sigma.
Yeah, well called. Circuit Royale. We've seen
no
a lot of this map.
today. A lot of circuit, yeah.
This seems to be the favorite for the second map for a lot of teams. Is there any reasoning we think for that?
Yeah.
Do you think
It's because most teams are massive Formula Lux fans. I actually, funnily enough, I didn't even realize, but where the studio I'm currently in actually physically is, out front is a Formula 1 car right now.
Oh wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Red Bull 2020 car. I'm not mistaken about the Red Bull part. It's definitely a Red Bull, but it's, yeah, I think it's 2020. 2018, apparently. It's 2018, I've been told by a bigger Formula 1 nerd than me.
I'm glad we've got that clarified as we will head into Circuit Royale once the players, of course, are all ready. But yes, a very popular map choice here. Look, I'm a little bit bummed. I want to see some, you know, King's Row. It's my favorite map. I know we've seen a lot of King's Row over the years, but I would love to see some of it. But doesn't matter what I want. We're going to head into Circuit Royale as the players are ready, and I'll hand it on over.
I, for one, am glad that we got to see Numbani earlier in this tournament. That's the map that I've missed the most.
It's one of those things where, like, man, we haven't seen it for a while.
Yeah.
Maybe I do kind of miss it. Then you see it one time, like, I no longer miss it.
That's the thing. It's like, I've kind of got it out of my system.
See you next year, Numbani.
Yeah.
Seen you one time, and I'm happy to wait a full year again until I see it once again, so. I'm all Numbani'd out after one occasion, one
I'm trying to think what the map, aside from Numbani now, what's the map that I see the least of?
Horizon Lunar Colony.
Certainly true. Haven't seen that one for a long while. Oh, yeah. Oh, look at that. Look at that duck float. Look at that rubber ring in the world's worst swimming pool. That is a flotation device for a dog. I like that whoever is manning that camera knows what the people want, and it's the weird floaty in the weird pool. Is that Roots? That feels like a Roots thing to do.
What I want is for the gates to open in 2 seconds, for Team Australia to choose their composition. Punk is doing a little bit of trolling the Winston before you play the actual composition they are going to roll out on.
We don't quite get the full speed run, by the way, because if Australia were defending first and full held, then the overall game would be shorter. But instead, they're going to have to go all the way to the end of C and then full hold Singapore. So it'll take that slight bit longer. So Australia won't quite get the speed run record.
I think he's not going to be on the Widowmaker today, as Australia will join the growing list of teams who are opting for a Sojourn Hanzo look over playing the Widowmaker. Even though I think Thailand did a damn good job on that yesterday. Vips will take down Quinn, so first casualty on board.
Rest in pepperonis. Immortality Field to keep Ash Kane alive as well. And whew, Cup breathing deep, feeling that one a little bit, but comfortably topped off now.
Not a bad shot. Keeps Nami in check.
Oh, that's a good shot.
Australia massively slowed down. Okay, things are picking up for Singapore. Things are looking on the positive.
Yeah, this isn't half bad, and there we go. Aki as well as Vips collects that one, and now Quinn is in a
cleaned
little
up,
bit of trouble.
I think.
Buffers in does go down. That's an important one with that slightly closer respawn, but in losing Nami, still a little bit of a disconnect here for Australia. Quinn's just trying to get right up in Cup's grill. Does not pay off. Goes down to Vips. Okay, cool.
Really slow staggering there. I mean, Australia kind of self-staggered because, well, they can't really exit, so they had to go forward. That means it's an extended team wipe, which Singapore will be quite happy about. 1:30 gone. Payload stuck on the hairpin. Cup and Vips doing a decent amount of damage. First ultimate on board is going to be the Dragon Strike, but with Cup going down, play advantage moves towards Australia.
And that's probably enough to start breaking this one. You see Punk getting very aggressive, really knows his limits. Dragon Strike separates up the team a little bit. They're not in a position to follow it. Oh, as I say that, Ashkane actually was able to slip around the side and dispatch of Punk. Very important find, slows Australia down once again as they look for that respawn. Would have had that Flux available shortly after as well, so bit of a rough beat of timing.
Trying to get a little bit of a move on now. This is where things count. Ultimate's on board. Vapor's already used one. So is Vips. The Flexes come on through. Ranking needs to find this angle. All the window to be dropped. That's one way to quickly force out Ashkane, and the longer you play this, you're just giving Vips time to kill.
Yeah, there we go. Immortality Field already deployed to save Ashkane as he lands down. Now it's going to be Transcendence to keep everyone alive as they deal with that Immortality Field. And Australia is still now. Should all be back in the mix in just a hot second. Trying to get aggressive once again is Quinn. Finds Vips, has an overclock if he needs it, but might want to just avoid using it for the time being as Nami has his Dragon Strike instead. We'll find Ashkane with it. There we go. The ACAP finally looking to come over. Bit of a slow one for Australia, all things considered. A minute on the board now as they get the cap.
Yeah, it took them 3 minutes to be able to get this cap, and that is a shot. Goodness, the sniper compositions are working out well for Singapore today. Most heaviest that we've seen them frag. I mean, 2 members will go down the Ashkane to follow, you can imagine. They are at least slowing down Australia, as you mentioned. They're actually getting kills, which is not something we saw a lot of on Lee Jung Tower, and now Australia are not quite on the back foot, but taking a long time to make their way through the map.
And that's the real important thing here for Singapore. They're just looking to slow Australia down, run down that clock, find that overtime fight. I mean, it's again, it's a by-the-book kind of deal. That's a really solid start across A. B, I think, is where it could flip back in Australia's favor in a big way. Not that it's not in their favor, mind you, but if they can get a quick cap here, then Singapore could find themselves in a really tight spot.
Let's see if this overclock can deliver. It certainly does. Onto Cup at least, and now onto more. Once the lamp is gone, Ashkane and Paper super low HP.
Wow, Nami finds it with the Sonic Arrow.
Next.
Not the most common one on the kill feed, but there we go. Another one collected. Add that to your kill feed, bingo. Late kill onto Fuffers in as well. Really nice pickup with the big cap coming through. Just under 4 minutes on the clock for Australia.
And the amount of kills on the Singaporean have slowed down quite considerably now. They didn't really get much on that last fight. That's where Australia make up for lost time. A was slow, but B much quicker. Just under 4 minutes to take through C now. And it's going to be Australia taking the forward ground early. Singapore still just kind of looking for any positioning. We'll be starting out on the pool side, so not going to be a forward hold from Singapore at all. And we'll need to be considerate of the rotation angle on coast, which Ashkane is looking at now.
Australia getting aggressive. Flux finding 3, already killing Vips before he hits the ground, which means he cannot be rescued by that Immortality Field. Now separating out these members. Abs separated from Ashkane. Ashkane down. Not Abs, sorry. Paper will go down.
Paper just runs off. That's going to be the reset. Singapore want nothing to do with that fight. Good Flux coming through from Plunk on towards 3. And they've captured basically all parts of the map they need now. Up can't even get out of spawn. Windows solely for Nami, why not? Trance on the point, and we're looking towards the cap.
Yeah, it's probably going to be it.
Latest trance I've ever seen from Puffer.
Yep, but I guess he's used it. I mean, you use everything you got right now, I guess. Nothing from the Flux from Ashkane goes down as well as Puffer's in. Paper does have a window, but he can use it to look at the cart as it caps out. There it is. What a view.
There's the cap, finally.
What are the dragons, by the way? I just kind of realized this. Because
it's in the name, really, isn't it?
Because like everything in Overwatch is like science-based, right? Like even if it's like
except the bits,
even if it's like sci-fi, right?
Magic.
Yeah, but they're like oh, it's nanotech magic or something like that. But then like the dragons are just straight up magic. No.
Just magic. Yeah. That's what I said. It's straight up magic.
Isn't that like everything else is scientific, and then at the end it's just straight up magic?
No. Some of it is magic, some of it's not.
What else? Like, what's something else that's just like
and
magic?
Also, if something that's so technologically advanced you don't understand it, it might as well be magic. So really, it's all magic.
Are there any other abilities that are like that don't have a scientific explanation? Because even Zenyatta's ultimate, I assume he's like
range.
sending out...
Widowmaker's range does not have a scientific explanation,
range,
but
sure.
we accept it for gameplay purposes.
She doesn't have the range. She doesn't have the range, dear. She doesn't have the range. So even Zenyatta's ultimate is like, I guess he's emitting some kind of healing nanotech. Like they've established that like nanotech can be used to heal. But like seriously, the dragons are just like 2 magical dragons.
Anyway. Back to the game.
I'm not letting this go. This, I demand answers.
3, 2, 1.
Does magic just exist in the Overwatch universe? If so, why does no other hero use it?
He is going to be on the Widowmaker this time around. Oh, out goes the Hanzo. Singapore, they're really going to stick onto Cup Symmetra. That is an interesting question, with Paper also on the Mercy. Which is a little bit, shall we say, not quite meta.
I wonder if there is... I mean, there shouldn't be a limitation here because Cup was playing Widowmaker before. But,
Sim doesn't really add much here. I mean,
Yeah.
what are you going to do? TP directly into Team Australia? That would be a bit strange.
TP your team away from the cart.
Okay, well, they playing bridge, but unfortunately that means they're not going to be able to really push payload or make anything of that. Cup's effective range does improve as you get around the hairpin, but still hard to really play out in the open. In fact, you can't at all.
Punk a little on the low side, but otherwise fine. As Australia nearly on ultimates. Cup picked out there by Punk. Nice shots across onto Ash Kane as well, keeping him honest, forcing him back. What is that melody? That's a good question, Punk. It's the sound of Ash Kane dying. Now Vip's in trouble. Will follow Ash Kane to the grave, and just a very casual defense there from Australia.
Now right back into the Singapore spawn. Allow the payload to slowly move itself backwards. Look, will play all the way up. Do some advanced scouting. Singapore staying in the course on their composition. For another 2 minutes of this.
No one can hide from my
Yep.
sight.
I am looking forward to 2 more minutes of this, actually. Buffers and Vip's down very early in this one. Ash Kane looking to follow. There we go. Nami really feeling himself with that infrastrike running.
They're gonna clean up. Yep.
I don't want to cut.
Quite easily, it seems. People will make it back into spawn. So there's one player staying alive. Nice.
I remember one time I used to do martial arts, and you had to, the grandmaster would hold a piece of paper and you had to punch fast enough to punch clean through the piece of paper, and none of us could do it. And then one day I said, "Can you do it?" And he got so mad at me for questioning his authority that he kicked me out of the class, which was really just him admitting that he couldn't do it.
Just one sheet of paper.
It's the end of the anecdote.
Unlucky.
It's, normal print of paper. Quinn going down though.
Yes, Singapore are getting the kills once again. Here we go. This
All right,
A
Ash
point
Kane.
just got a lot more interesting.
What is your melody? Hit us with your best mixtape.
With a two-piece.
And nothing. Down in the immortality field.
Punk is low HP.
Is getting healed up and now has his own. It's 2 for 1 in terms of those Gravitic fluxes. Once again, it's just immortality field deployed to answer it. The barrier in place as well. Photon barrier from Cup. Just slowing things down for Australia on this defense. Cat not quite coming through. There we go. Finding Buffers in. Quinn going to get aggressive with the overclock. Looking for more res on Buffers in, but by the time he's done, 2 other members were already dead, and Paper soon to follow, and Buffers in goes down for a second time.
And the full hold is still on board. 30 seconds left to go. Taylor has good distance. Singapore are all out of resources. Paper's even on the loose here now. And I'll say that's an improvement. The Anna, nope, back over towards the Mercy. So, no improvements on the comp, sadly.
Quinn down. All right. That's a bit of a start.
Oops again.
Might be able to find
the hero.
something. This is the best
the hero of
opportunity to
Singapore.
have. Now firing through this window here is Team Australia. Ash Kane just brutalized. Buffers in not able to follow up. Overtime wicket. Hello? Well, that was fast.
Hello there.
General Kenobi.
Okay.
Thanks. Not my best impression.
You went too far on that one, I think.
I don't have many good impressions. I think my best impression is probably Mickey Mouse. And Kermit the Frog.
That's copyright and licensed, so...
Exactly. I'm not going to challenge the mouse live on air.
If you wanted. Outside of Veps getting a couple of kills, very clean defense for Team Australia. What pretty much is as you'd expect. Full hold. It's a tinge of spawn camp, not a lot. Just a slight tinge with Punk pushing all the way up. Singapore now still looking for their first win in this group. I believe they're now 0-3. They do have a map win. They got that one map win versus Malaysia, but beyond that, still searching for more.
I would like to just let Pixie know something. You asked about Hanzo's dragons, and I have to tell you, they're the Shimada spirit dragons, so they're not magic. They're actually spiritual dragons, and they can be controlled by the Shimada. They're technically
I know that
spirit
part.
dragons.
That's the, I know all of that, but I'm like, is it actually that there's some like weird proprietary technology that everyone else thinks is bad? Like, what actually are they? Like, aside from just saying spirit dragons, like, what is that? Is God real in Overwatch? There's, like, actual deities, and they get spiritual energy from whoever it is the Shimada house worships? Like, what are those? So weird.
Oh, goodness.
Someone explain.
Well,
maybe Cuffer knows.
I don't know much. Maybe Cuffer knows. Well, look, we are going to go and have a chat with Cuffer now. He played the first map against Singapore. Welcome, Cuffer. Thanks so much for taking some time to have a chat with us. You played your first match. How did you feel playing against Singapore today with the team?
You know, I don't think we expected it to be any difficult match. They have quite a weak roster compared to most teams in the group. So, you know, a breeze. It was fun though. Got to play a map.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
You seem to be going pretty well through the group so far. You're probably one of the favorites as Team Australia to make it out of this group, but the competition looks pretty interesting now. With, you know, Thailand's game yesterday was quite close. You didn't play that matchup, but it did go 2-1. Do you have any thoughts on how you guys went yesterday versus Thailand?
I think both the matches we won were pretty convincing. I think Circuit's a bit of a Mickey Mouse map. You know, anything can happen. They kind of surprised us with the Hanzo Sojin picks. They're a really good team, though. I think Thailand are definitely the second strongest team in the group, and maybe like India close behind. But yeah, I think that they got a really good DPS line, so not to underestimate them for other teams.
That's 2 Mickey Mouse mentions in the last 3 minutes. We're in trouble here. Cuffer, did you know that you can get a McFeast lunch deal for $5.95? But my actual question is, obviously, you don't want to count your chickens before they hatch, but Australia is a favourite to make it out of this group. Are the boys already kind of looking ahead to what they might see elsewhere in the tournament? Obviously, once you qualify into those other groups, you'll have your opponents all lined up ahead of you. Or I mean, obviously the focus for now is on the matches in front of you, but like, how ambitious is the team feeling right now? Are you expecting that you are going to be in those groups and planning accordingly?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone would expect us not to qualify. I don't want to jinx anything, but we are definitely the favorites. And, you know, there's we got a pretty strong roster, I think, and great coaches behind us. So I think it'd be anything but weird to see us not succeed. And yeah, I think we'll do well. I hope we go to America and play well, hopefully get through the groups and play on the big stage. That's the plan.
All right, thanks very much. Clip that so that if you do end up not qualifying, we have the clip that makes you look like a fool. Thank you very much, Cuff. Appreciate that.
Oh my goodness. And look, you do have a match. Your last match of the entire qualifier will be against New Zealand. Are you guys looking forward to that match? Because obviously a lot of you New Zealand and Australian players have played together on teams together. So will this kind of be a bit of a fun match between all of you, do you think?
It'll be a low ping match compared to the other ones. So that'll be good fun, yeah. I don't think they can qualify anymore unless like some miracle happens.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about a Cuffer.
I don't think anyone really expected them to qualify. Like Joker said to me, like, see you at BlizzCon or whatever, but that was like a while ago, and I didn't say anything back because, you know, I didn't think they'd qualify.
Now you can.
Yeah.
It's a shame that you couldn't clip him in that conversation. Unfortunate.
Oh, goodness. Well, look, thank you so much for your time, Cuffer, and good luck for the rest of the matches. We wish you all the best.
Thank you. See ya.
All right. Well, that was all she wrote for Australia versus Singapore. 2-0 the way of Australia. And we will be heading off to our next games shortly, which will be Malaysia versus Thailand. As we can see so far, we have, as I think it was predicted earlier, 2 zeros across the board. How are we feeling about the Malaysia-Thailand matchup? Do we think another 2-0 the
More
way of
2
Thailand?
zeros across the board.
More 2
Across the
zeros,
board.
yeah. And just an absolute
Way of
clean run
Thailand.
of it. I've got dinner reservations, so yeah, I'm looking for a 2-0 here from Thailand. And funnily enough, I'm actually going to a Thai restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, bit of a humble brag there.
Yeah.
As
I know, I'm
why? Because
feeling-
Thai food is notably expensive. Come on.
Oh, Thai food's great.
I
I'm
know.
feeling very left out. All right, well, look, everyone, we'll be back shortly with Malaysia versus Thailand. Don't go anywhere.
You asked, we listened. The McFeast is back in all its beefy, salady, saucy glory. Value means more at Macca's, so grab a McFeast lunch deal now for only $5.95.
Hey, I'm Riley, also known as Coffer, and I'm the tank and IGL of Team Australia. What sets me apart from other Overwatch players? It'd have to be how much time and how dedicated I am to it. I see a lot of people have like other commitments, and it's fair enough if you're not in tier 1. Overwatch might not be your entire livelihood, but I think I put more hours than any other player in the same division, so I think I've got a great advantage of time on my hand. Some of my biggest role models within the Overwatch Australia esports community would have to be Punk Unter Face. There's 2 LA Gladiators coaches within the Overwatch League and a Vancouver Titans tank player. It's kind of limited, the resources you get within OS, so it's great to have these people available to help, especially during the World Cup. My go-to Macca's order would definitely have to be a double quarter pounder meal. There's nothing better than those beef patties, I'll tell you that. Make deliveries now on the My Macca's app. How do I deliver under pressure? I generally just focus on breathing techniques before and during important matches, and my years of competing in like high stress situations has prepared me for the big moments. Queuing ranked all day every day won't actually get you as far as you think. You have to be a lot more critical in your own gameplay and watching back VODs, seeing what mistakes you did and how to fix them. Watching pros can also help a lot develop like cool strategies, and you can understand how to play the game at a higher level.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Overwatch World Cup APAC Group B qualifiers. We've had some quick games so far. We've had New Zealand versus India, Australia versus Singapore, and we've still got one more to go, Malaysia versus Thailand this evening.
One more 2-0 to go.
Possibly.
Potentially.
Possibly.
It's been 2 zeros across the board so far. So it might be another quick one, which, hey, you know, everyone gets to go home early.
Yeah,
if that's
like I
the
said,
case.
I've got those dinner reservations and I want to hit them. I can't afford to be late again. I'm on thin ice already. So, yeah, here's hoping. Here's hoping
That's 'cause you're
either
tardy.
Thailand or Malaysia pull through. I don't care who gets the 2-0. I just want to be at that table
right.
at 8 p.m.
Sounds good. Well, let's take a look at Malaysia's lineups to start off here. We've got Fantasy on the tank, Game Produde and J003 as their DPS, and Numenos and Geminix as their supports.
The team that's got their one map win, well, actually 2 map wins versus Singapore. They won that match versus Singapore, struggled versus India. Now coming into their 3rd game here to maybe prove something versus Thailand. Thailand, who we've already kind of talked about as, you know, especially now that Cuff has also kind of set himself one of the top teams in. Malaysia could struggle. Very similar in the ways they struggled versus India. So we'll see if they made any change in the last 24 hours to level up.
They are definitely going up against a pretty strong team. We've seen Thailand. They're quite a strong contender here. And let's take a look at the Thailand lineup. Calvin Tank, High Vision and Ace on DPS. And we saw some great plays from Ace yesterday. He actually got our play of the game. So looking to Ace again today, and then Aputo and Pali on supports.
Yeah, Ace has been the real standout so far. Calvin has also quite comfortably held his own against some quite serious tank players. Obviously going up against Punk was a bit of a tough ask, but that's a tough ask for everyone. And that's the other thing that we sort of highlight here, right, is Thailand have already played their match against Australia. In theory, that's the difficult one done. And they had a reasonable showing. Certainly they had the best showing anyone's had against Australia so far, picking up that map in the middle and being relatively competitive on the other ones as well. There was definitely a real shot there. So that's why we're kind of expecting a 2-0 out them. They are sort of neck and neck for India right now for sort of best of the rest outside of Australia. Obviously, we don't get that head-to-head for a little bit as well. So it's just kind of where Thailand sit right now in the grand scheme of this tournament.
Well, Malaysia and Thailand will be starting off on Nepal for their control map. Now, we haven't seen much Nepal yet played here. So do you guys have any thoughts on what we should be expecting here on this map?
Just some more domination from Ace. I think as the DPS line of Thailand, as mentioned by Cuffer as well, that is their strong point for sure. A strong enough point that for Thailand should be enough to dispatch of most teams in this particular group. But I mean, they did well versus Australia. Thailand should look to continue doing well for the rest of the tournament.
It's kind of nice to go to a different map, actually. It's been all Ilios and Lijiang, so Nepal now. And obviously, standard procedure here, loser picks, subsequently either escort or hybrid, and a couple of different options available in the pool. And interestingly enough, we were remarking on that earlier, we've mostly seen teams going not just for escort, but specifically for Circuit Royale. I think we've seen only Circuit Royale, and then we saw one Numbani, if I'm not mistaken.
Gibraltar? We
saw one Gibraltar, that's right, that's right.
Yeah, I actually like Nepal. I think Nepal's a fun control map. You know, you've got that map which has the opening sort of in the center, which you can get some fun environmental kills. I think Nepal is a really fun map to play on. You can also maybe, I don't know if people will, but you could potentially have the echoes here, like, you know, have that air control, but potentially not. I'm not too sure what we'll see. But I think Nepal's a fun one that we'll get to hopefully see a bit of different comps on, but maybe not. And whoever does win this one, the other team will get to choose the second map, which will be an escort or hybrid. And if we do get a 1-to-1, the third map will be a push, which will be the decider map. But we don't think we'll be getting all the way to the third, but we'll see.
Yeah.
It may not be a clean 2-0, but let's find out as we head on in to Nepal here. Take it away.
All I'm thinking about now is takeaways. Like McDonald's.
I want to say we might see some more comps here, but probably not from the Malaysia side, given their track record so far. They've basically only just played realistically speaking, either the Junker Queen or the Sigma if we go to Circle Royale, which actually might be on the cards again if Malaysia end up picking that second map. So it's going to be an early prediction from me. But yeah, I don't think that Fantasy is going to really swap off unless there's something really confident there that Fantasy hasn't shown that they'd like to. It's just going to be more Junker Queen for now.
You're seeming downright clairvoyant with that one.
Just easy prediction.
That could be a name. Clairvoyant. Like Ella Mentalist.
You know what? I think you might be the first person in the world that's ever said
Probably
that.
am. Probably.
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
The first. Never been said before as we
Original content.
get into what is a Sanctum. Some more on both sides.
We'll have to see what the
One team now has one less Moira.
have to see what the JQ can accomplish. Fantasy on the wrong side of a May wall, as Numenal's already down. Now Fantasy soon to follow. So what can the Junker Queen accomplish? Not much.
Okay. Super fast beginning for Thailand. Malaysia, now that they're kind of pushed back in with these retakes of the Queen, this is going to be where things struggle a little bit. You have to really win these ice wall battles. Fantasy's caught on the other side, probably dead here, unless... Ooh, good pocket healing, just barely keeps him up.
Yeah, JW3 as well, having to use the ice block to stay alive. Nearly caused the fight loss, and Malaysia are resetting off it, so rotating around. Thailand still everything to play for. Coalescence available for Pally.
So much damage. Fantasy basically went down there, almost. They will be able to eventually rotate onto the top of the point.
And there, wow, Pally just devastating with that Coalescence, finding 2 on his own. Gemini just off into oblivion there. Where does that lead, do you reckon?
Into oblivion, as you mentioned a little bit earlier. I'd like to imagine it's endless. Loops back around, so when you get to the end, you drop out of the ceiling, you drop out of the sky.
It eventually connects to the realm that the Shimadas get their dragons from.
Very dangerous. Here comes that Blizzard.
And not a happy spot for Malaysia. They got the Coalescence running, but Numenal's frozen up. And,
gone.
Not able to actually finish off there. High Vision did have to go cold for a sec, but they are still able to collect the rest of these kills. Just that fraction of a hair later. High Vision over the edge.
Gemini will get one.
Yeah, credit to him.
Gemini will get their one. That's been happening 2 fights in a row now. Just one player booped off the map. The freeze from High Vision will destroy the Coalescence, will ruin Malaysia's chance of using any other ultimates. And my goodness, Fantasy is not on the Queen for the first time. That is interesting. Let's see how that works out.
Early sound barrier just rolling straight in. Ace wanted to get a sneaky Death Blossom. Ended up deploying this Blizzard as well, but no one's in it. It's just all for nothing. 2 ultimates used for no gain, and now Death Blossom directly on top of Gemini. And Fantasy will be able to clean them both off. Galvin is dead, but in the main chunk of the fight, that didn't matter, and nobody was even on the point. 100-0.
Well, late swap from Fantasy there. Maybe it could really do something. Find some legs and distance on a future round if Fantasy decides to keep playing the Ram. As previously mentioned, the Queen did struggle a little bit in that matchup, as did a lot of different things. Once Thailand got hold and started snowballing their way through, very little for Malaysia to come back with. And only a couple of kills from Malaysia as well, mostly coming through from Gemini, getting a couple of boops, 1 on each fight.
Into oblivion.
One-sided so far, I think, as
Fantasy
expected.
This time rolling out on the Ramatra.
Okay.
Not going to start off on a Junker
Here we go.
Queen.
We are meta-slaving just like I want to see.
Truly a slave to the meta. And nice early rotation from Thailand. We'll have to see how Malaysia successfully push in. Ice Wall to isolate Fantasy, but has enough team with sightlines at his back. Still getting a little bit low here. Ends up going down, just too much damage coming in. Not enough healing at his back. And obviously no tools like an Immortality Field with this particular lineup, so easy pickings. Gemini will get out, but JW3 not going to be so lucky. That is a pretty tidy opening for Thailand.
Alrighty. So Malaysia still, unfortunately, not able to get too much done, even with the slightly changed up compositions. Fantasy getting heavily outdamaged there, even with the hands up. Can't survive. Thailand massively set up on the sidelines. They're expecting Malaysia to roll through, potentially on the top, but I think they're coming bottom instead. In the case, Ace will have the drop down on top.
And a nice ice wall to separate out these two members. Not quite getting the kills early. Game Pro Dude taking a lot of heat. There we go. JW3 goes down to a headshot from the May right click. And Calvin now looking to go down. Nope, stays alive just barely. Numenos gets picked off instead. Calvin is just in by the breadth of a hair. Fantasy not quite able to connect on the kill, rather. So again, a clean 4 for none.
Ace holding the Death Blossom there as well. No reason to burn it. They knew they won that fight. Good couple of walls. To me, that was high vision wall placement. It allowed them to be able to find the fights they wanted. A couple times in Malaysia, they just got caught out by the walls, couldn't get past, had their team split, couldn't exit either. Now the co-side rotation, they have read that kind of likely is high, holding high ground again, so rotate the opposite side of the map instead.
Death Blossom will be enough to collect Numenaz. They've also used that Coalescence. They have a lot of tools in the tank here. Find JW3. Game Pro Dude looking to be the next one under the guns of Ace. And 5 for nothing. Not quite a gone, just with how the timing of the death of Numenaz worked out, but wow.
2 ults, all you need. Numenaz also threw one in there as well, so 2 for 1 trade. Malaysia still yet to be able to find a good opening here, and we're on the last fight, 15% left. Still a wall to get past, still a Blizzard to get past. Blizzard on the point for the final fight, very strong for Thailand. And Apudo has the extra sound barrier.
Gemini doesn't have his sound barrier yet, which means this Blizzard gets a lot of value. Game Pro Dude trying to go around the side. Double Blizzard is in place, so no, well, there we go. Pally finally down. Apudo sound barrier not quite rescuing him. And Malaysia with the wraparound play, getting Game Pro Dude in position, ends up paying off for them. He was outside of the Blizzard. Just that little bit of extra damage they're able to throw in, so not a total lockout from Thailand in the end.
And Pally got frozen there and didn't get the sound barrier. For some reason, it might have been out of range, might have been out of line of sight there. But Apudo couldn't quite connect the sound barrier to Pally, who goes down. Gemini was the one that actually got the kill into Pally, so he didn't have the sound barrier, finds the sound barrier off the damage and kill into Pally, and then turns the fight around with the late sound barrier onto his own team, but still quite a fair few number of players alive in Malaysia. Huge ult trade back and forth. They come out ahead.
Ooh, unnecessary death on Game Pro Dude there. Just the Moira Orb floating by him. Ace getting aggressive with that Death Blossom. Zones Malaysia out at least. Here we go, separating out Fantasy, who is not in their immortality field, unlike the rest of the team. Goes down Numenaz as well, and just pressing forward to Ace. Cleanly running down all these members of Team Malaysia. Point going back across the way of Thailand. Not quite a double 100-0 lockout, but overall still very clean stuff from Thailand.
Yeah, one good fight in there for Malaysia, like genuinely good actually. They had a good Blizzard coming in, finally got on top of point, legitimately won a fight fair and square. Not all is lost, but not enough to really challenge Thailand for the majority of either round, because you need a little bit more than that. You're gonna get a map win versus Thailand, one of our, I think, favorites for the group, fair to say. So Thailand looking comfortable 1-0.
Yeah, Thailand just did not want to let Malaysia get any of the point at all. They held them off for so long. Malaysia getting a touch at the 99% right at the end there. Very close, but yeah, Thailand, good hold. They just said no to Malaysia, just over and over. You don't get to touch this point. So well done to them.
And as you kind of said, Kevin, this is, you know, they're one of the potential tournament favorites right now. I think we've got a pretty clear delineation of the top 3, and Thailand are in it. So that says 3 teams all kind of competing for 2 spots. Obviously, this series isn't over just yet. You know, there could be a turnaround here for Malaysia. Let's absolutely not rule it out. But Thailand are looking just so utterly comfortable right now.
Well, we're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we will have Malaysia picking the next map that we'll be heading to. See you all soon.
You asked, we listened. The McFeast is back in all its beefy, salady, saucy glory. Value means more at Macca's, so grab a McFeast lunch deal now for only $5.95.
Welcome back, everyone. You are joining us as we are currently watching Malaysia versus Thailand. The first map has been completed with Thailand taking it away 1-0 on Nepal. Yes,
2-0. A 2-0 in Nepal that ends up in a 1-0 in the map scoreline. She's frozen.
If they'd stayed on Gemini, we would have found out where that abyss leads to. Guess we'll never know.
Center of the earth. I think it goes straight to the core.
All the way down
to the hollow earth. That's where the dinosaurs are, in the hollow earth.
Yeah. Just living down there with the Illuminati.
Yeah. Who ride the dinosaurs.
Who ride the dinosaurs. They're in a war with the Freemasons who are riding dragons, of course.
Speaking of war, this was a very one-sided one. Malaysia had the one fight win on Shrine. Thailand cleaned them up quite comfortably on both otherwise Shrine and Sanctum that we saw. A little bit of change up for Malaysia in terms of team comp, so I'm glad to see that they are shifting a little bit further away from the Junker Queen. It's no longer really, I mean, it wasn't really working even yesterday, and today it's still not really doing too much for Malaysia's chances to win this matchup. Thailand, we expect to be the favorites here. They're delivering on that currently. Looking very comfortable.
Well, as Thailand did win that map, Malaysia will be picking the second.
Yep, there we go.
It is! Oh, goodness. We have seen a lot of this map, but understandably, it's a good map. The teams must have all been practicing this map quite a bit, so
yeah. I think
it's the one to play.
The teams like going there for the tax benefits.
But they're just tourists. You know, you're not a resident.
Are you sure they're all not just going to the
visiting?
duck?
We're just visiting Circuit Royale, and you don't get to stay there permanently, unfortunately. So,
unfortunate.
I think they were just going to see the duck.
This is important for fantasy. This is important for Malaysia because this is where they get to play the Sigma. So there were no surprises for me. I mean, I mentioned they were going to go to Circuit before we even played the first map because it's just this is where fantasy needs to be able to pull through the Sigma once more. It's one of their better opportunities to win a map comes from.
Well, definitely. Let's head on into Circuit Royale and see if Malaysia can have a comeback.
What Mediterranean nations don't have a map? Does Spain have one? They don't have like the Dalmatian coast, like there's no like Croatia or
we don't have one in Ireland. There you go.
Ireland, famously not in the Mediterranean Sea.
Famously in the Mediterranean Sea.
I suppose there isn't a Maltese map.
Iceland doesn't have one.
Doesn't have one. You're quite right about that. Greenland also no.
Yep.
They also haven't
Canada
touched
is a
the
Mediterranean
other
country
side.
that does have a map, so Canada's good.
They haven't tried the other side of the Mediterranean Sea, where you've got Morocco and Tunisia and Egypt. So there's a lot of untapped potential. I want to have a map in every single
have Egypt,
Mediterranean country. I know we do.
But
well, do we still?
We do and we don't. We do and we don't.
We sort of do. We used to.
It's still in the game.
In spirit, we do. But yeah, we need to get all the rest. Libya.
Thailand is playing the Calvin Ram on this map. We'll do a little bit of Team India. Still playing otherwise what is exactly the same as what you would play in a Sigma composition, just no Sigma.
Now, what body of...
So, forward to that.
Looking forward to it. Of course, have a Thai hero now that nobody has quite chosen to pick yet, including Thailand. Maybe we'll see it. They
good reason.
Yeah. Thai Vision going down early in the bout here, so a little bit of a tough break on the defense. Now Calvin as well. That should be the push underway properly for Malaysia.
This is why Calvin needs to go Sigma. Because once the shield goes down, you just can't really do much in that range battle. And there it is. The instant swap. And it likely is still, yeah, it's early enough. So if they are going to get a recontest here, the payload has still got a little bit of distance to go. So not all is lost for Thailand, although a lot of lost time for Calvin on the ult charge.
Ooh, nice final kicks, Miko. That changes things up for this defense here as Thailand will get an opportunity to contest. Just the one pick. So now Malaysia have to find something of their own again.
Seems like Ace is one of the few players in this group that are still willing to play the Widowmaker and showed his prowess versus Australia yesterday. Unfortunate missed shot onto J003.
Infrasights rather available for both Widowmakers. Through the window now is J003 and Quixmiko. Thailand just having to pull back around that corner, but still keeping the card contested. No free push.
And once the infrasights are both out, no one really wants to push too far forward. And now as that dissipates, and actually dodged the rock.
Oh, A's on fire though as the rest of the fight plays out. The Flux only really capturing Calvin. Completely fine. Ace 2 for 1. Numenos is going in for a Transcendence here. Seems quite bold. They've still got Calvin and High Vision in the mix, so Thailand happy to commit their own Flux to be able to finish off Quixmiko. There we go, nicely done. And now fresh and forward to Fantasy, looking to collect another kill, ideally, and slowing Malaysia down pretty significantly. Just a minute and a half left on the clock for them.
Anyone in the shop on the sidelines, but Thailand's not really playing that. Halo slowly moving backwards. No matter what happens, this is likely to go to OT. Ace is on fire.
Yeah. And gets another one. Both DPSs down to Ace. I mean, there's winning the sniper duel, and then there's winning the sniper 1v2. Ace, we've said this before of him, one of those players that warps the game around his presence in it. Oh, beautiful. Almost as beautiful as a view of the Mediterranean Sea.
Well, you get a view of the harbor behind you, which is what is it called? Hercules Harbor?
Maybe. I honestly don't know. I feel like I should know.
Wow.
Seems like the kind of
trivia you should know as well. I'm ashamed that you don't know. You should be ashamed.
I am ashamed. I am ashamed. I can never go to pub trivia again. Dragon Strike Quixmiko, who knows where those dragons come from. Ace finding heads once again. J003 down, looking for a body shot on Numenos. Ooh, take a little bit of heat there. Transcendence out from Numenos. They're trying to stay in it. Ace a little bit low. Can't be too aggressive here. Calvin is down. Ace still desperately fishing for it. Gravitic Flux will catch him.
Oh, Fantasy 3.
Down, and there we go. Even with the trade back there, Thailand, not enough members left on this point. Pally diving for it a second too late. 2.5 minutes on the clock for Malaysia to try and capture B, but they do get that A cap over the line.
A miraculous push coming through from Malaysia. Well done by Fantasy there. Good Gravitic Flux catches Ace. Push out over 3K. They'll buy themselves the opportunity to push a little bit further. I mean, they're going to need it because Thailand's own attack is going to be probably quite deadly. Jay swapped off the Widowmaker now over towards the Tracer. That'll give Ace a lot of free reign on these angles. To be fair, I think Jay is a little concerned about the lack of good offensive angles here. But Ace has no challenger now.
Yeah, that's a big beat there. Losing Fantasy. And now Numenos going down, so Malaysia fully repelled, and Ace finds another. Just absolutely tearing it up.
And we continue. Regular programming of Ace. Collecting hands, High Vision will get in on that as well. Malaysia getting handily outranged there as they'll even just struggle to round the bend. Themselves back in contention to touch the payload again. Even Calvin's quite pushed up. Numeros gets the punish. Marking the
Flux channel, so not going to get the value out of it, and now goes down. They committed a window and just not getting anything out of either of those ultimates. This is a big opportunity for Malaysia. 2 for nothing. A lot of ultimates expended.
Straight away.
Ace immediately back in, collects 2 kills like it is nothing, and suddenly shoots back on the other foot. Malaysia, they're on the cart, but Thailand have enough time and space to play through to get the rest of these members back just off Ace collecting those 2 kills.
Fantasy, low HP, has a shield up, but not in time to save him from High Vision.
Incredible
Had the
stuff.
off angle here with the Infrasight. Ace is looking for more, and Ace will find more. Numenos on the sides, shivering, shaking.
Oh, man.
And he's gone.
Masterclass from Ace. As 20 seconds on the clock left for Malaysia. That one little ray of sunshine they had gets quickly clouded over by Ace, so they're gonna have to find a significant pick. It's gonna be a tough ask. And down, but dies shortly thereafter. JW3 down to Ace to the poison trap. In fact, as Pally's Transcendence will keep Thailand nice and safe. Flux up and down, but not really any opportunity to follow up on those kills. Fantasy now dead, and that is everyone for Malaysia. The gong will ring out and signal Thailand's successful defense. That's not a whole lot of distance for Thailand to cover to secure this series.
No. Not at all, which is why I was saying, you know, for Malaysia, pretty good that they got the A point in general, but they're going to need a little bit more than that. We had the Ace show. Living in Ace's world currently. And not a lot of challenges. Once JW3 got off the Widowmaker, the Tracer wasn't going to do a lot on the attack.
Just really enjoying the view of the sea there. It's a shame we only ever get it in passing.
Port Hercules.
There it is! Yeah! Does the duck have a name?
Port Hercules is the name.
Port Hercules. I'm going to call the duck Hercules, actually.
Yeah. Do you know how much it costs to, I don't think this is the correct term, park your boat in Port Hercules?
More is the term you're looking for. I imagine there's like a minimum, like $1 million or something.
$1 million a day?
Probably, I don't know, some ridiculous number. I guarantee the amount it costs to park your boat there, I just said as well now, to moor your boat in Hercules Harbor is like more than I will ever have at any one time in my life. So go on, what's the number?
5, 4, 3.
The answer is it changes depending on what's on.
Oh,
There you go.
thanks. Well, assuming nothing is
It's
on.
about 1,200 euros a day, I think.
Actually, I may have 1,200
Depending on-
euro at some point in my life.
A day, depending on what is on, like if there's things happening on. Such as, for example,
A
whatever
fight.
this race is that's been
If
going on
there
for a
is-
long time, or a fight
If there was a
between
fight, I imagine it would be very expensive.
almost the exact same heroes, but we do see a Sombra on board.
Or on dry land, I suppose, but yeah. And slow push here for Thailand to start things off. Again, only about halfway through B they need to get, looking very achievable if they can get a quick pick early in the fight. If Ace can collect a few more. He has been pretty good at clicking ahead. There it goes. And another. Bam! Done.
That shot!
Fantastic from Ace.
Call it.
And there this will get the A-cap, looking for another one. Oh, there we go. Fans Fantasy with the body shot. That's the A-cap. Dunzo, 58.6 meters on B. That's all they've got to get, and they're going to have about 5.5 minutes to do it.
Take your pick. Which one of those clips do you want for play of the match? Jesus. And you're looking at Ace play this here, it's like, it doesn't feel like Widow's been nerfed at all. It's trying to get us, it's solo pushing. Oh, Malaysia's trying to get us spawn. They're playing their C point composition on B. Somebody tell Malaysia that this game is not going to go to C.
Yeah, this is going to be a long one here. Fantasy already down. It's looking pretty rough for Malaysia. Ah, Ace! Ace gets another. Numenon's down, fishing for more. What will he find? Body shot Gemini. Nope, High Vision takes that one away from him. Looking for the last shot over onto Kixmiko. Not going to find that one. Does find it with the alternate fire. He'll take it. Oh! And it's over.
That was the last headshot. That last shot, he was even a headshot, so there you go.
I mean, Ace just, he turned that into the Ace show. Look at Sigma's weird toes. What's up with that? Why are they so long?
That's very judgmental of you.
I don't think his feelings will be hurt. He's not real. Interesting that ends up being play of the game when Ace got like 1 million headshots.
No, the game likes ultimates.
It does like an ultimate.
So if you use ultimate, the game likes you a lot. But yeah, Thailand 2-0 victory as expected. I think the only real couple hurdles there was a single fight loss on Nepal Shrine, the loss of point A on circuit. That's about it. But Thailand just got themselves a bit of extended gameplay. They cap A and then just keep pushing on through Ace is continuing his long-range spawn camping, if that's even a thing. It basically is, given how deadly he was, just firing upon everyone walking out.
Ace was having an incredible game. There's nothing really else we can say. I feel like just watch him get shot after shot. So well done to Thailand. They're a clean 2-0 on the board.
And this is a really comfortable place for Thailand to be right now, right? They already had a good showing against Australia in spite of the loss. This is exactly the kind of result we should see in this particular match. So this is Thailand kind of painting by the numbers, is the term I've used previously today, and I'm going to stick by it. When you consider their overall tournament life, they kind of got the hardest one out of the way. India is going to be the real tell for them, but they're in good form. They should feel very confident right now.
Yeah, I think they don't really have too many challenges here. Losing to Australia hurt, but they're clearly still a cut above everyone else. They already beat New Zealand a little bit earlier on. And as you mentioned, now it very clearly might be Thailand versus India to decide who makes it. I mean, India versus Australia will still be a game that's important. There might even be a three-way tiebreaker depending on how this goes around.
It's possible. It's certainly possible. Map differential may well start to count as well, which is where Thailand having that 2-1 against Australia could be a little bit of a difference maker in the grand scheme of things.
And if we look at today's overall wins, we can see it was a 2-0 across the board as was predicted. India, Australia and Thailand all taking the wins out today. Well done to each of those teams. They all had fairly maybe easy games except the India-New Zealand one. I think New Zealand put up a bit of a fight there, but the other two potentially easier matchups for them today.
Yeah, certainly the closest of the night, that very first one. But even so, you know, the result speaks for itself, and that was one of those matches where it's like that's the gatekeep, right? That's the team you have to be beating if you do want to get into that top four, indeed that top three. So the scope is very much set now for this tournament. We know exactly who our top three are, exactly who our bottom three are. It's going to be a tough ask for any of that bottom three to dislodge one of the top three. Really, it's starting to look like a scrap between those three teams on that leaderboard.
Yeah, let's take a look at the leaderboard after day 3. India, Australia and Thailand all sitting at the top there. Thailand with the one loss though, and New Zealand, Malaysia and Singapore holding the bottom of the board. So yeah, it's looking like India, Australia and Thailand are sitting pretty up the top there, and will be three favourites.
Yeah, I think you had the top four as noted pre-tournament, but also the top three is now starting to form, with New Zealand being cut out of that. And eventually we'll, out of those top, looking like any two out of the three possibilities. So unclear as to who exactly makes it out now, but it's exciting that it's at least at minimum a 3-horse race.
Exactly.
All right, let's take a look at our Macca's play of the day for today's games. And it is going to be Color Hex. Here with the cleanup when they changed over to they copied over the main.
Yep.
And getting that point.
Very nice Blizzard in that particular fight, and one of the stronger players. I mean, one of the things we remarked about New Zealand is that they sort of live and die by Color Hex right now, which isn't to discredit the other players. It's more that, you know, Color Hex is really solid when he's on form. When he's not quite able to hold his own against the opponents, that's when things start to unravel a bit for New Zealand. They don't quite have the depth in the roster compared to the other teams. Yeah, I think that's the most critical detail. Really, that speaks to how good a lot of these other teams are. One thing that's worth noting, though, is because there's a week now for the rest of until the rest of this tournament, there is time for teams to go away, turn things around, come back in slightly better form. So as much as the standings are starting to look quite settled, there's still a lot of time left in this tournament to turn things around, and upsets very much can.
Malaysia and New Zealand both need to win the remainder of their games, and unfortunately they have to play against each other, which means only one of them can. As I mentioned, you'd need at least like a 3-2 scoreline here to even have a hope, and even then you'd have to rely on some tiebreakers to go your way.
Well, we do have a lot of matches left, so let's take a look at what we've got in store. Starting on Friday next week, we'll have India versus Australia, which should be a very good map to watch. That's going to be quite, I think, a close, tough game, so I'm very excited for that one. Then we have Malaysia versus New Zealand, followed by Thailand versus Singapore at the end. Some good maps, good matchups.
That first one is pretty interesting insofar as, you still tip Australia as the favorite. They were also able to beat out Thailand. What you're really looking for there is how good do India look, because Thailand looked good. India and Thailand don't play each other until later on in the tournament. So that's really the one where you get that comparative data ahead of what will probably be the decider for the second seed. And also, as we kind of remarked there as well, New Zealand versus Malaysia, that's a do or die. Whoever loses that does not have a pathway out of this group stage anymore.
Absolutely, yeah. Two really important games there. Then Thailand versus Singapore, who at this stage, with their 3 losses, they'll be fighting for, at least a little bit of prestige and some reputation there to hopefully bring it back a little bit, try and be competitive, see what they can do after a week.
Well, what a fantastic start to Group B here this weekend. We'll be back next week, everyone, with some more games and to see who makes it in the top 2 and out of the online qualifiers. Catch you all then.